Well, hello and welcome to episode 68 of Field Pass Hockey's American Hockey League podcast, the Holy GrAHL. And as you can see, if you're joining us live on Wednesday, obviously we're live. This is super exciting. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but we're going to be bringing you live coverage of a full docket, literal full docket of American Hockey League playoff action as these teams are in their division finals. Starting here already, we have Hershey, Hartford. We're going to be moving on to Toronto, Rochester, then Milwaukee, Texas. And if we still happen to be around for it, Calgary and Coachella Valley is your late game tonight. So this is the episode, May 17th. And we're going to get right into our introductory question here so you all know who we are. And guys, what I want to know, and we're just going to go in alphabetical order, make this easy on us like usual. I want to know, put on your fortune teller hat. Are we going to see any of the division finals decided tonight? These are best of 5 series. There are 3 series that are already 2-0. So we could have 3 possible clinchers tonight. I want to know, will it happen?
Andrew Rinaldi here on the Chicago and Grand Rapids beat. I think Calgary's going to push that one, but I think Hershey's going to end theirs, and they're going to make it short and sweet, just like the chocolate that's on their jerseys. Especially, I just saw Hartford's switching to Louis Domingue after all that Dylan Garan's done for the Wolfpack in this run. They're really just shuffling the deck here in Game 3. I'm not sure if I like the call, but we'll see what happens. But I'm in Corey's court on that one. I think Hershey's they're gonna finish it up tonight.
And Corey Swartz here, in the midst of being engrossed by the Bears and the Wolfpack here. I refrain from making comments on series while they're, at least with the Bears. I'm a little superstitious to say that I think it's going to end today, but I've been feeling confident about this Bears group. I mean, they really came out, you had a gargantuan task against, such a hot team in Hartford, and, really, didn't make it look easy, but they went blow to blow with the Wolfpack. The Game 1 comeback especially was just a marquee moment, in recent Bears history, honestly, like we haven't seen in a number of years. So, I do think the Bears have the moxie to take it. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh my goodness, the Bears almost just had a goal on a turnover from Louis Domingue trying to play the puck. He played it right onto Garrett Pilon's stick, and somehow it didn't go in. It was rolling a little bit possibly there too. But anyhow, I agree with you, Andrew. I'm not sure that going to Domingue all of a sudden is exactly the right call. I'm not really a huge – I would just, in the playoffs especially, it just feels like bad mojo in a sense to switch your goaltenders. So, it's either going to pay off really big or, almost as it just did, maybe not as much, but, there's plenty of time here. So I do like Coachella Valley's chances to maybe steal a win over Calgary. I always feel like the best of 5 is a little bit of in a sense, built for not, series to get decided a little bit early, whereas they might go a little bit longer in the best of 7 format possibly. So I wouldn't be surprised if that one ends today, honestly, since I can freely speculate on that one.
Yeah, and I'm Zach Power. We're one off that magic number like the last time I tried to get a girl's phone number. But what I'm trying to say here is that I think that a lot of the series that we're seeing right now are a lot closer than what you think. I have confidence that the Marlies will come back, and I'll talk about that now in a moment. I think that the Calgary series is pretty close, but I'm looking to Chocolate Town. I think that there's something to be said there. I'm kind of getting that bad energy from this whole goaltending situation, and it's going to be an interesting one for sure.
And I'm Dina Weinheimer, one of the managing editors here, and I cover the Cleveland Monsters, which we all know did not make the playoffs this year. Well, I'm going to say one series. One series gets decided tonight. I'm not going to go on record and say who it is because I don't want to jinx it, but if you read between the lines, you can probably guess who I'm predicting. So anyway, we are going to go ahead and get right into this coverage here, but we want you to join the conversation. So tweet us if you're on Twitter at the Holy GrAHL, TheHolyGrAHL. Be sure to use the hashtag THG Live. Or if you are on YouTube, you can go ahead and comment right on our channel. Or if you're like Samantha here and on Facebook, go ahead and join us too. My people, Samantha, thank you so much for joining. It's always a pleasure to have you on board with us here. So, we're going to try to keep you updated as much as we can on these games. Right now, Hershey Hartford, the only one really in progress right now. And I'm just going to tee it right up to Corey. He's just going to let you know what's at stake tonight and what things are we looking for here in this very important game 3 for the Bears.
Yeah, so this is the shift on the road from Giant Center to XL Center now at Hartford. Game 3, the Bears are up 2-0 after taking a pair of pretty dramatic games at Giant Center over the last couple of over the weekend there. Sorry, I was just watching a skipping puck in front of Louis Domingue there. The Bears nearly forced a turnover in some prime real estate. But yeah, so the Bears came back from down 2-0 in game 1 to win it in overtime thanks to 2 third-period goals and a game winner from Henrik Borgstrom in his first ever Calder Cup playoff game of all things. So, insert into the lineup in place of Mike Scarbosa, who was injured at the end of the Charlotte series. And then, took a 4-2 decision in game 2 a couple of nights later. And so for this one, I think for the Bears, it's really, it's a test for them because they're playing on the road in front of a hostile crowd. That's, the first 5 minutes here, as Todd Nelson mentioned, the Bears head coach, as he mentioned at the end of his last post-game press conference, the first 5-10 minutes here are really going to be huge for the Bears to kind of weather a storm that Hartford's sure to have. But for the Bears, they have the chance to advance with a win here today. It'd be their first time making the conference finals since 2016. It's for Hartford, they're trying to stay alive. They've been, not playing poorly, but they've been definitely, feeling the effects of Hershey's conditioning. They've worked hard to get to this point. I really think that it's going to be another really close battle here. And, as we've seen in both the first 2 games, the first goal, means a lot, but it's not the deciding factor here. Hartford got it in game 1, Hershey in game 2, was able to jump out them a little bit early here. I just think it's going to be a battle of, 2 teams. It's going to be just an absolute war as the first 2 games were.
And Dean is muted.
Oh.
And yeah, we have some Bear fans in the chat here. Will Myers III checking in on Facebook with 3 little bear emojis. And then Samantha says, I made Corey proud and went to a Hershey game. I hated myself.
You mean you loved it, every second of it, and you want more. That's what she actually means to say.
And we also have Zach Martin checking in on YouTube. Hey, Holy GrAHL fam, miss y'all. Zach, we miss you too. Hope everything is going well. And we want you to join in on the conversation. So please join us wherever you're watching this. Comment if you're on Twitter. Tweet us at the Holy GrAHL or use the hashtag THG Live. And we have some action actually all really picking up on that Toronto-Rochester game. While I get a clip loaded, Zach will give you all the details there, some interesting lineups, and yeah, we have a goal.
Yeah, we certainly do. The Marlies getting off on the board pretty early. Before I tell you about that goal, recapping the last 2 games very quickly. Toronto just hasn't been first to the puck, and I think that's kind of been the kind of scenario here. Goaltending hasn't really been what was promised heading into the series, and things are obviously changing in the lineups tonight. Joseph Wool is getting the start after coming back from a Toronto Maple Leafs run where it's kind of taken away a lot of his regular season and as well now the postseason. It comes at a time when the Marlies are down 2-0 in the series, and after allowing 4 goals in less than 2 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever it was, that short period of time in game 2, they come back out and they come out swinging at that. And Pontus Holmberg getting the goal early on with a slap shot from the far side boards. It's intense here so far in the first 2.5 minutes, where already we've seen chances go off the post for Rochester. The Marlies defense have blocked at least 2 or 3 shots at this point. So I'm speculating a pretty good game at this point as the Marlies try to claw back in this series.
How much are Marlies defenders shaking in their boots when they see Yuri Kulik with the puck at this point?
And you know what? He's already broken a kind of record sort of thing I seen earlier this week. The AHL tweeted out that the last time that someone was able to kind of go on this sort of goal point scoring streak, I think it was 2016. So it's kind of been a hot minute. So it's he's been really the star of this series so far, and I expect to see more of him tonight as well.
All right, and we have that goal from the Toronto-Rochester game. Again, this goal coming super early on in the game at 17 seconds, courtesy of Pontus Holmberg.
And I mean, it just kind of goes to show that if you just take the shot, good things happen, right? And it was just a simple slap shot where I don't think Malcolm Subban was expecting it. And he really was one of the star pieces in the last series. And while I don't think that he is exactly what he was in that Syracuse series, I think he's playing up to par. And I think that he's held down the Marlies in some pretty good, opportune times. And so he's got to step up big for his team again.
Right now, the goal is showing unassisted, but that is going to change. I couldn't tell who had that takeaway there, but that was some really, just really good hand-eye coordination and just situational awareness. The Marlies making themselves known here, and it's about time that we kind of see that from them, because right now it's not looking good for them, and they need to have a big performance and keep that going throughout the rest of the series here.
I think it was really good for them to kind of, on top of obviously the goal on the first shift of the game gets everyone up and going, but 5-on-5, I believe they were outscored, 5-0 in that last game against Rochester, 4 power play goals, but even strength, they just got walked up and down the ice. So to come out and do that even strength, I think that's gonna boost their confidence a bit. And yeah, we'd hate to see a sweep out here. So let's hope the Marlies can keep this momentum going. Yeah, right as I say that, oh boy, I'm just gonna not say anything anymore for the rest of the show.
And yeah, and so what Andrew's kind of referring to a little bit here is a goal by Rochester. And you know, I was kind of questioning this, and I tried to keep my mouth closed for long as possible, but I kind of deep down think that there might be some kind of, I don't know, coldness by Joseph Wool, as the Rochester Americans just came down and ripped one. So it's kind of tough, right? Like, you're coming off of an NHL series where you didn't entirely play up to what some thought were your expectations. I thought he played up to expectations, right? And we're kind of getting a clip of that here.
I love the sliding along the ice, Sully. That's always a classic. Oof. There it is. It's so hard to stop those low blocker shots. I mean, I get it. He's been out of action for a little bit, so those are going to be a little harder to get to. It's kind of what we were talking about with Hartford, and I get that Domingue's the guy who's got, he's got NHL pedigree to him and everything, but to just throw him in kind of cold against a red hot Hershey team, or I get throwing Wool in there because like what else has really been working for Toronto? It's just been seeing the goals pile up in their net this whole series. So I get where they're going from that. You got to, at that point, you got to have the team in front of you kind of step it up a little bit and help your guy out, kind of get him into game rhythm. And then, you can't give him a shot like that. I mean, that's just, what are you doing there? But they had the momentum. It was going great. And then I had to open my mouth. So again, I apologize to Marlies fans all over Ontario.
And Andrew, like we've both had the opportunity to kind of see bits of this Calgary Coachella series, right? Like who are also two heavyweights that are set to go out tonight. And I feel like, this kind of back and forth action is kind of what we've been seeing in that series as well, hey?
I was totally blown away the last in game 3. Calgary played a perfect road first period there, and I was like, a team like the Wranglers, they're gonna have this one absolutely locked down the rest of the way. Coachella got off the mat and threw a haymaker right to their jaw, and I don't know about you guys. I'm not ready to crown anyone. We have a couple of rounds left, obviously, but they got the number 1 team in the land on the ropes. They just got Potts back. Oh, they are also getting Ty Cartier and possibly Jesper Froden. He's on waivers, and if I was Calgary, I would definitely put in an absolute just.
They picked up some.
I'd put a waiver claim in just to spite them. You think you're gonna load them up even more? Well, yoink. And then he's a pending UFA, so they could totally just let him go, but they just don't get in this series. But if the number 1 team in the land can't stop this Firebirds team, who will? I mean, to show that kind of resolve. I mean, even at home, but to battle back and get through 3 overtimes. I went in and out of sleep, one-eyeing it the whole time. I don't know how I did it, but I ended up seeing Riker Evans' shot and getting Sandra Prusina's call, and I was like, sweet. And then I just kind of hit it and turned my laptop in, and that was it for a night. But I mean, kind of expected this, right? The 2 teams that had 100 points and the only ones in the whole league going toe to toe. I don't see Calgary going out easy. This one's going a distance, but that's a punch in the gut. When you're up 2-0 on the road and you let it slip away like that, it's tough. It's emotionally draining to come back from, but we'll see.
And I refer to them in my article as heavyweights, and I can't think of any other way to describe it besides just that. These 2 teams are tight, right? And I feel like you try to fault them in one way, and then it's like, nah, I kind of like that. I like just about everything from the way both these teams are playing.
Andrew,
I got my Pomo going. I'm sorry. I feel like I spoke this into existence. I'm like, oh.
So Andrew, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Are we sure it was Riker Evans? Are you 100% sure it was Riker Evans?
Sources told me that Max Lajoie might have been involved in that, but
okay, that's what I thought. And speaking of goals, we got another one in Toronto, Rochester. Rochester making Joseph Woll work.
This is the shakiest I've seen Joseph Woll in a while. Like, this is bad. Like, if you know what, I'm gonna say it right now. We're in an elimination game, and you let up 2. I don't want to say soft goals, but like 2 goals where your goaltender looks cold. Get him out of there, man, because you're just setting yourself up for more failure afterwards. You got to have a heart-to-heart on that bench. And that's about the reality of it. Is there's got to be a heart to heart to say, are you ready and able and capable of completing this game?
Well, at this point, we already got 3 goals in that one, and it started 5 minutes later. And meanwhile, I feel like Corey's over there, kind of just taking a snoozer over there in Hershey, Hartford.
We just had a little bit of a delay here. Beck Malmstein took a puck up high in the face and had to exit the ice, and they had to clean up a little bit of blood. Didn't look like it was an overly hard shot that he took up high, but obviously, anytime a puck hits you in the face, no matter what pace it's going, how speed it's going at, it's going to hurt. So he's a tough customer. I'm sure he'll be back. But yeah, like you said, there hasn't been a ton of quality chances so far. Hartford's definitely had the better of the zone time, I would say, so far in terms of pressing. And, the Bears have had some pretty nice defensive breakups. One guy that stood out to me pretty early on here has been Vinny Iorio. You wouldn't think this kid's a, 20-year-old, 21-year-old rookie. The way he plays, like he just, he has just some great vision, just a great skill set that he uses to his advantage night in and night out. And, he's been the most noticeable guy in the back end. And, everyone's kind of stood out so far. Lucas Johansson's had a couple of good defensive plays. You can't say enough about Logan Day and Jake Massey coming in and, basically pinch hitting at any given point and doing as well as they do. So, like you said, it's been a little bit quieter. Obviously, nothing compared to what Toronto and Rochester came cooking for today. But, it's kind of interesting because there's been some games with the Bears so far this season where it's been a little bit slower pace like this, right? It takes them a little bit of time to, really get cooking. Game 1, there was only 1 goal in the first period. And, a lot of the scoring really came late. So it's full 60-minute efforts here. I expect this to be relatively low scoring, frankly.
And we're going to get a quick look at this Rochester goal. Honestly, just driving the net, slips the puck between Wool's pads. Just slips it right through. That's 2 goals on 4 shots. This is not what I was expecting out of Joseph Wool after watching him come in for Samsonov up in the NHL playoffs. But you never know what's going to happen on a given night, and just not a good look for the really strong goaltender.
Yep. And credit to Cohen Olszewski. He was the one who wasn't able to get the puck out on that Holmberg goal, and so he kind of makes it up for it here. Driving wide, puts the puck on net. I mean, how many times have you heard that? And especially in this time of the year during the playoffs. But the first one, that was a nice shot. I'll give Wool a pass on that one. That second one, that's a oof. And so, Toronto's got to have some of their vets maybe come over and talk to the guy and just be like, settle down. Or how about you get the puck away from him and you get him settled into a rhythm here? I mean, otherwise, okay, I'm not. Last time I said something bad happened. I'm not saying anything anymore.
You got to wonder what it's like for a goaltender like Wool to, essentially have your season end in the NHL and then, all of a sudden, hey, you're going back to a team that's very much still alive here. It's a very unusual situation to be a starter in the NHL, then go to being a starter in the AHL days later.
Yeah, I like to kind of think that, and this is kind of my thing, is I think he's rattled. And this is what I'm starting to see, right? Like, I don't think he's confident. And, is Greg Moore the coach to really be like, hey, buddy, I know you just got your socks knocked off you in Florida, but we kind of need you here in Rochester, buddy. I don't know. And Greg Moore's a great coach, don't get me wrong, but not the point I'm trying to make here either. But who's to say to him all right, buddy, come on, you can make a save from the blue line. You got this. You know what I'm saying? It's tough. It's really tough. And you got to be right. It's not like you're a defenseman or something like that. You're the starting goaltender who just came off a starting goaltender gig.
So I'm watching this Toronto game, and it looks like Toronto may be taking a penalty. I couldn't tell who it was, but one of the players in white with the blue shorts, definitely Toronto, was standing in front of Joseph Woll, grabs a puck out of midair and just yeets it. I don't know exactly what happened there, but Rochester getting the power play. And just a quick recap here. If you are watching us live, please join us, join the conversation, tweet us at the Holy GrAHL, GrAHL on Twitter, use the hashtag THG Live, or comment on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll get your comments here on the air. But quick scoring update. So at 17 seconds, Toronto got off strong. Pontus Holmberg from Kyle Clifford. Then it's been all Rochester ever since. Ethan Prowl scoring at 3:05 from Lucas Rusek and Brendan Warren. And then 6:33, Cohen Olszewski from Brendan Warren and Zach Metza. So yes, that is 2 assists already on the night for Brendan Warren. And this stat from the Amerks PR on Twitter, defenseman Ethan Prowl now extends his point streak to 5 games with that even score at 1. And over his last 5 playoff games, the blue liner has 6 points with 1 goal and 5 assists. And looks like it wasn't the yeeted puck that caused the penalty. It was a high sticking call on Carl Dahlstrom. So who knows what they're going to call anymore. It's the playoffs.
I'm trying not to jinx it again. Oh, I think
Just
I
say
did.
it, Andrew. Get it off your chest.
As soon as I was like, I'm not going to say.
Or just channel Will Myers III. Yeet. When in doubt, yeet.
I wasn't gonna. I was like, I'm not gonna jinx it. I'm not gonna jinx it. I'm sitting there and I'm like, don't say anything. Don't say anything. And then the thing happened.
I know my buddy Will will appreciate this, but it's kind of like a game of Mario Party, right? Where you diss somebody for rolling onto a Bowser space or something like that. Then your roll comes and you're going to land immediately on a Bowser space. It's karma, instant karma.
Okay. Looks like Lucas Rusek on the power play. Wool's night's got to be done, right?
Now that one wasn't his fault. I'll give him that. That was a terrible defensive play. Like it was bad. I tweeted before the second goal. I said, "Watch me die slowly inside," and each goal, I feel a little more. I feel like something is coming out of my body here. This is bad.
I think they make medication for that kind of stuff. Pepto-Bismol. You might need some on the Marlies.
Is it golden, liquid, and delicious?
How embarrassing.
Where are we going with this? We're going to segue back to Will Myers. Appreciate all your comments, but he says, imagine getting nothing but Bowser spaces. How embarrassing.
Feels like Toronto right about now.
I mean, they're getting Bowser spaces. They're getting the not good yeets. They're just, everything is bad right now for the Marlies.
Yeah. Well, Zach, what do they got? What's got to happen for them to rebound here? It looks like they were. I mean, first 17 seconds were great. It's been all Amerks since then.
And you know what? Like the first 2 goals, I think were Joseph Woll, right? And we're talking about a power play that's been running at like 33% or higher for the Amerks. Like it's a pretty good power play for them. And I think that it's important to kind of note that last goal, it wasn't necessarily his fault. There was a guy, Rusek, sitting on that. I think it was Rusek who scored that. He was sitting on that back door So Wool can't be everywhere at once. And he's definitely rattled. If I was Toronto, I'd be looking for Bass Pro Shops because they need to get the fishing hooks out. And yeah, you can see it here if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. It came across. There's just no chance. There's no chance for Wool on that. The power play, it had some pretty good looks. I think that the Marlies penalty kill was pretty aggressive. And I think that it's been a lot tighter than what the scoreboard shows. I think that there's some really good signs of brilliance from the Marlies, but the fact of the matter is they're down and that's it. They're just it. There's just nothing else, right? They need to get the fish hooks out and they need to get Wool out of the net because it's now or never.
What was Mac Holloway doing on that goal? Puck came to him and he had a solid secondary assist to the Amerks player.
Yeah. Welcome to Marlies hockey, baby.
Experience Toronto hockey.
And we
No
actually
bad news.
Yeah.
Hartford scores to open a 1-0 lead with 2:20 to go in the first period. Turner Elson gets the goal. He got a little space in front of Shepard. Got a nice pass from a player falling down at the side of the net. And he buries it. It's 1-0 Hartford late. And, we knew there was going to be an onslaught from Hartford to start off this game. But, with 2:20 left in the first period, the shots are 13-3 in the Wolfpack's favor so far.
Oof is right. 13-3. Ouch.
Mm-hmm. It's good to
I
see.
think that's 13-4 now, but
hang on. It's good to see a couple of former Griffins getting involved in the stat sheet here. Dylan McElrath already racking up a couple of PIMs there, and Turner Elson was an absolute heart and soul guy for the Grand Rapids squad last year. And sad to see him go, but I'm glad to see him having some success over here in Hartford. So, sorry, Corey. I mean, I gotta go for my guys. I did give a McElrath bump though. So, anytime
it's temporary. It's a 60-minute game. We're only about 20 minutes in here, so we'll give it some time yet.
A lot of hockey to play. A lot of hockey.
And Corey, to your point, is there any point where the Hershey Bears need to put on the panic button this game? Like, I know that like game 2 for the Marlies was the closest thing they'll get to an elimination game without being one, right? But like, and I know that they're in an elimination game, but like, is there any point where Hershey needs to panic this game?
I mean, I would say that you really want to take this game. You don't want to be back here on Friday, right? Like with all the momentum shifting. I think you really want to, not view this as an elimination game in a sense or, do or die type of thing. Because you want to keep it loose, right? You don't want to, get in your own head and have all the pressure be on you type of thing. But, the Bears have been here before. They've, they dealt with, a heavy game and, a couple heavy games in Charlotte. I would say, if I'm the Bears, I would say you got to throw this first period away. You got to not carry this over into the second. You got to hit the reset button, which, to the Bears' credit, they've been very good at, taking bad efforts or, bad stretches and taking it intermission and saying, guys, we need to get this together. And, and they turn it around. But, to this point, I've seen some good things from the Bears, but I just haven't seen that, offense in waves that they've been known for. So I'd be looking for a reset here. If it continues in this game, then that's something to be concerned about. Because, I mean, they haven't been bad, but just maybe a little bit more willing to be on their heels, which I don't think is great.
Yeah, getting outshot like that's not a pretty look, but I mean, you're up 2-0 in the series. I mean, Hartford's juice being in front of the home fans. I wouldn't say it's not quite panic time yet. I mean, even though there's a little less margin for error in a 5-game series, but you start getting behind and get maybe a little more, or just the wheels kind of come off, maybe, but a lot of hockey. Hershey's got a lot of runway ahead of them still, so I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is that on the Hartford goal, the lone goal here so far, I would definitely, take a look at it and say, Logan Day blew a tire and, lost his edge behind the net a little bit, preceding the goal. So that was what caused the defensive breakdown to, lead to Turner Elson really being alone in front of the net to bury a quick pass like that. And, Hunter Shepard's been very good as he's been all series, all playoffs long. It's far from over, far from a reason to be concerned. You just don't want to throw a Charlotte game 3 where, the Bears kind of broke down for a couple of goals and their offense really fizzled out in some ways there. So I'm not really worried just yet. They've had times, this just reminds me of when Hershey was on home ice, right? They used their home crowd to their advantage, and they were down 1-0 in game 1, despite probably having the shots on goal margin equivalent to what Hartford has after this period. So sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. Now, obviously, in game 2, the Bears kind of had the best of both worlds. They had the shot margin and they had the goals. So, we'll see. Obviously, you can live with the fact if you drop one, you have the chance to respond in a couple of days and throw it out the window. I'm not concerned so far here, of course. So, it's far from over, honestly.
So we do have some questions coming in on Twitter using the hashtag THGLive from my dear husband, Carrie, at GPWCBJ. Corey, this is possibly a question that you could answer. What explains the Wolfpack's second half rise from down and out in January to now in the Atlantic Division Final?
Well, it's an excellent point. I mean, we were, kind of dogging on them as they kind of pulled the reverse of what they did last year, where, last year was, one of the craziest tanks, almost about the same time, really. Their kind of turnaround really started. But I think it was a combination of getting some good personnel in at the trade deadline. They had a solid base there. It was always the situation where, they maybe didn't deserve their fate for the first half of the season, right? Like, there's some teams that, some teams are able to get away with working with smaller pool prospects and stuff, but really once the Rangers made some of those trades at the deadline, they got some quality pieces. I mean, Adam Clendenning is one, Will Lockwood is another. There's a couple others that are escaping my mind at this immediate point in time, but they got those pieces and they were able to be left alone by New York for quite some time there. And when you have a solid roster that they're able to cook like that, it's trouble, I would say. It's trouble for a lot of their opposition, and it makes for a fascinating matchup with Hershey just because they really haven't seen the Bears since before their rise like this. So I think it's really just, getting that personnel and then just getting some confidence. I think, you start to stack wins up one after another. They had an 8-game winning streak that almost lasted to the end of the season. I think their last game of the season was when that ended. So they had a lot of things go right for them in that respect that, they got some of their guys back too. Some of the guys like Tim Gettinger, Ryan Carpenter, Tanner Fritz have just, of course, all just been great at carrying the load, so to speak, but they've had a variety of scoring, added an extra dimension of depth I don't think they maybe had before. And, it's all gelled well for them. So, they were kind of able to, I think, maybe take some teams by surprise. Springfield was one that I think that they thought that maybe they could just show up and, keep doing what they'd done all season. And, Hartford really turned the tables on them. Same with Providence. I don't think anybody expected, just like Boston, I don't think anybody expected Providence to, just kind of, roll over like a carpet rug type of thing in your, first floor apartment you're rolling up and throwing in the dumpster type of thing. Nobody really expected that to roll over quite that way. So, it's one of those things, though, you question if it's sustainable or not. I think this series with Hershey has been Hartford's first big test to say, hey, is this sustainable? And, facing some adversity here. So you knew they weren't going to roll over and just die like this. So, I do think that Hartford's built to respond to this kind of task for sure.
Yeah, and if you have a question for any of us, please feel free to join the conversation. Of course, just like Gary, you can tweet us at the Holy GrAHL, again, GrAHL. Use the hashtag THGLive, or if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, just go ahead and pop a comment in there. We'll get you your questions live here on the air. So while you bring up Adam Clendenning, we had an interesting something that we don't see a whole heck of a lot here. So he was suspended later last, or actually earlier on this month. Originally, it was a 3-game suspension as a consequence of an interference incident in a game versus Providence on May the 3rd. And then it was announced on May the 12th that the league actually reduced that suspension. Instead of 3 games, they moved it to 2, which actually made him eligible to return to Hartford this past Saturday on the 13th. I think I saw somewhere where it was like a rule was misapplied. I don't remember all of the details to that, because unfortunately, that tweet has since been, it looks like, deleted. That actually did come from one of the league media people, but again, unfortunately, that has since been deleted. So I can't say exactly what the league's viewpoint was, but what do you guys think about that whole situation, especially here in the playoffs, having a suspension reduced?
Well, I mean, it's certainly rare to see that get reduced like that. Certainly, I would say. Definitely an interesting rule. You know, it came at a perfect time for them to get him back for game 2 against Hershey, just for Saturday's game, and he ended up scoring a goal in that. So it worked out pretty well for them to kind of have that. I won't call it fortune, but I actually hadn't heard if there was that tidbit about a possible misapplied rule or anything like that. So it's certainly interesting. It definitely was a suspension worthy hit, in my opinion, just upon seeing it. 3 games did feel a little steep for him, in my opinion, there too. So very interesting, I would say.
And he scratched tonight, so I'd almost feel like he just gets another little game to sit down and think about what he's done. They're kind of flip-flopping, like, well, he's suspended, but then we're going to reduce it, and he's going to play, but then he's not going to play. And it's almost like, I don't know, maybe they feel a little guilty about the suspension reduction. I don't know. Whatever the reason that Adam's not in the lineup for tonight, I'm sure it has to do with the hockey gods righting everything, all the wrongs in the world.
Okay, so I found the rule. So that suspension was adjusted because Rule 23.6 was misapplied. The automatic 1-game accumulation should not have been assessed because it resulted in a separate suspension under supplementary discipline.
Oh, that clears it up.
Yeah, right? But
is it that automatic 1 game for the game misconduct at the end of the game? Is this what we're talking about here?
Well, the original release said it was because of this rule, which is why he had the 3 games, and now this is what they're saying, that it was adjusted because of this other rule. It's all confusing to me. I need an AHL rules expert to chime in on this. If you're out there, get a hold of us and we'll bring you on the show.
I believe Gary's working the rule book right now.
Gary's going out page by page right now.
He's sitting back there on this phone, just scroll. Read it over, Gary, then walk out here to the front room and explain this to us, please. Waiting to hear a laugh come from the backside of the house, just come wafting up here.
So the Marlies and Rochester Americans are going into the first intermission just now, okay? And I just want to get this out there. I want to get my opinion on the air. And you know what? The Marlies had some real great zone time. Not going to lie. They did some really good stuff in that first period. And I think that when they got set up good. But they're not doing anything to help Wool, because Rochester's just waltzing in cases. There was a breakaway at the 3-minute mark. There was more time before that where they're just kind of letting them waltz in. And this is kind of like similar Toronto Marlies of what we've seen earlier in the playoffs, where they don't really feel the need to kind of necessarily be completely up to par on defense. And so when your goaltender's shaky and then you kind of have this on top of it, it's not really helping the case for me wanting to keep Joseph Woll in there, because you want your goaltender, especially coming out of a situation where he's come out of, you want him to be as comfortable as possible. But if you're just going to let Rochester waltz in and let up 9 good quality shots in the first period, I don't know. It's not fighting like you have all the chips on the table right now.
All right, and we do have that clip here of the, well, if I can get my computer to work just 1 second, we will have that clip here of that Hartford goal here, courtesy of Corey on his Twitter account at FPH Bears. So Corey, kind of talk us through this one.
Yeah, so you're gonna see once the clip restarts here a little bit. We missed the meat of this one here, but you're gonna see Turner Elson there, number 15. He kind of finds his way to an open spot, and that's where you get your goals at, right? He sneaks in there right in the bottom of the slot and gets a really good cross ice pass, but it really starts out behind the net there. Logan Day is chasing behind. I believe that's the primary assister for that goal, whose name escapes me. Ryan Carpenter. Of course it is Ryan Carpenter. I could have guessed that. Ryan Carpenter, kind of gets away from Logan Day here. He loses Day loses an edge and goes down. And, it gives Carpenter just enough space to really wrap that around and in front of the net for Elson sneaking into the slot there. Turner Elson, has had a habit of scoring some goals here. It's just his second of the playoffs, but he's a guy that's kind of come up clutch for them in the right situations. Really has benefited, I think, from having some increased skill around him in the lineup. Carpenter being one such guy, Anton Bleeth being another guy who earns a secondary assist on that goal. Just being able to get to the right spot. And, hey, that works for some guys, right? They get on a good line with some guys that can really, dish the puck. I know it works for me in my beer league hockey when I'm with some good guys. They get it to me. I like to think I can bury it sometimes. So it works out pretty well in this instance for him. But that was really one of the only blown assignments I can really say I noticed from the Bears in terms of, getting a really high quality opportunity there. So I do really think that the Bears, that's maybe going to be their one blunder of the first period, but it's up to them to really, turn the tables and respond. We saw them respond to, giving up a goal in game 2 and, coming back from the 2-0 deficit that really seemed impossible at points. So, for the Bears, I think it's just, it's a 60-minute game. Every, minute they're alive in is a dangerous one at this point, right? So I think it's going to be one where, if you're Hartford, I don't know that you'll be able to sit back quite as easily as they maybe were able to make it against Providence in this series. So I expect a good pushback from Hershey in the second.
Can we just talk real quick about how completely underrated Turner Elson is? Like, he's a player that does a little bit of everything. And I just think he's completely underrated and deserves way much more credit. I mean, that play right there shows you why.
I think he was rated pretty fairly in Grand Rapids, but he a little bit more of the spotlight in the postseason, considering he's there in Hartford. So not that something that's been evading the Griffins for the last couple of years, waiting for me to get on the beat.
Well, I mean, to your point, Andrew, there too. I mean, he was one of the, few guys you could really say in the AHL this year was an Iron Man, 72 games, had his best regular season, one of his best ever regular seasons, really, 41 points, nearly tying his point total from a year ago in Grand Rapids. But, he's a guy, he's played more. He's one of those guys, it seems like he really, when you see him playing that upper echelon of games played, right, like it seems like his point totals just kind of rise along with it. It's very proportional. He played in 72 games for the Griffins back in 2018-19, had a similar point output. Tied for a career best in assists as well. Like to Dina's point, I mean, there's a lot there that, really screams underrated and maybe, doesn't get quite the flashy reputation, the Johnny Brodzinskis, the Ryan Carpenters, some of those big time scores. Tanner Fritz is another one. How can you forget Tanner Fritz? There's a lot of star power on that team, but he's kind of a guy that maybe flies under the radar a little bit as a result, and is just part of that great depth we were talking about earlier.
And moving back to the Toronto-Rochester game, Zach shared this graphic. This is from the AHL's website. If you go to their game center, you can kind of see this, I guess, heat map almost of where the shots or where the saves and the goals are coming from. But he had just one word to say. Maybe you can expand on that a little bit, Zach. But he said in our chat, concerning.
It certainly is concerning. And you know what? It's because, like, I get, all right, one of the goals was from the blue line, as you can see there with the G on your screen. But, like, just letting someone take as many shots as what you have from inside the circle, there's what? At least 6 there. I can't even count. But, like, this is what I'm trying to say here about the Marlies letting Rochester kind of come in and get their shots. There shouldn't be little to any shots coming in from inside the circles like that, especially a magnitude of them, right? It's like a complete wall in front of wall, right? And this is what we're kind of seeing here. And you know what? And good on him for trying, right? Like, he just came out of a tough series against Florida, but like, you can't let your kind of skaters come in and take shots at that close of an angle, right? And this is what we're starting to see, and that's what's got to change in the second period. You got to make sure that all those shots keep to the outside, and I think that Rochester did a pretty decent job for what it was, keeping the Marlies to the outside, and I think that's why their shot totals weren't as good, is because they didn't have that lane to shoot, right? And so, again, that's got to change in the second period. You cannot let so many shots come in from inside the circle, and that's a prime example.
So Hartford's putting the O in wool. I'll see myself out.
We look at it on the other side, Toronto with just 2 shots from that, danger area right in front of Subban's net, You got to come back in this one. You got to get as many opportunities from in close. It doesn't matter how greasy it is. It's the playoffs. You got to get them any way you can. Just start chucking pucks in and drive the net for second, third opportunities. I mean, roll the sleeves up and get to work. I mean, I know a guy like Logan Shaw is not going to have any problem doing that, but he's going to have to drag the rest of that roster with him if he has to. But going to need to see a little more from Toronto in order for them to come back here.
And, it kind of takes me back to, like, I remember, I think it was 2010. It was Colorado and San Jose. It was that fluky goal where they were just throwing something on the net. And I think it was 95, or it was the Wings in San Jose. And they just threw a shot on net and it went in, right? And that kind of costed both those teams somewhat in those series, right? To a certain degree, those were both overtime goals. So I kind of think about, just throw the puck on net. Good things will happen. And I think that Rochester's shooting from close is great from the danger area. But you know what? The Marlies just need to shoot low and look for something to happen, right? And that's kind of get those greasy goals, hang out in front of the net. I know it's not really their forte to kind of hang out there. They don't generally do it, but maybe it's time to start, right? Like, clearly things aren't working from the outside. Clearly you're not getting to the inside. So they'll have to fix that in the second period. And I know that the second period is getting underway for Corey.
Yeah, puck's down. We're right here for the second period. The Bears have their vicious checking line out here of Beck Melenstein, Mason Morelli, and Riley Sutter to start the second period, which I like because that line's been so incredibly effective at generating some good energy for the Bears. It's a massive line, too. Just size-wise, physicality-wise, Beck Melenstein took the glass out in Hershey during the Charlotte series in Game 4 there, which was, is always going to be a great memory for me, honestly, to, spark the Bears' comeback there for sure. About a minute into play here, the Bears already applying some pressure here. So love to see it. Hopefully it just carries on a little bit more here, but we'll see as we start to go back and forth.
Well, if you are more of a Western Conference fan, guess what? We have some action coming up for you here in just a couple minutes. The goaltending matchup has dropped for the Milwaukee Admirals versus the Texas Stars. I almost said Dallas Stars. Wouldn't be the first time. Definitely won't be the last, but it looks like it's going to be Yaroslav Askarov against Matthew Murray. I noticed they started using Matthew instead of Matt. Try to clear up that confusion a little bit, but I'm going to toss it down to Andrew where he can give you more of the details on this exciting series.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't call him the other Matt Murray anymore because now he's just Matthew, and like another Matthew, very near and dear to Dina's heart. Very dependable. He's gonna get the job done, and I don't want to say it's kind of been a similar feel to Calgary and Coachella where we talked about two heavyweights, but I mean it's kind of the same out here in the Midwest where Milwaukee throws the first big punch and then Texas comes back with one. It's these have been two teams that have been just such a paper thin margin between the two of them that there's not a whole lot of room for error, and when you do make a mistake, like they make you pay. And I loved seeing Texas' response after kind of getting goalied in the first game. I mean, Yaro Askarov, I don't know what more I can say about this guy that hasn't already been said, but Maverick Bork came out with a huge goal with just a couple minutes left in game 2, and now we're all tied up heading down to Texas. I still feel like it's anyone's game out here. You're not going to get a whole lot of 4-goal games against Yaro Askarov, so the Stars got to be kind of feeling themselves here a little bit. I don't want to say that they kind of stole one there, but hey, you get a late power play goal on the road to get a win. It's empty netter on top of it. You got to feel good. I'm still kind of waiting, though, for Riley Barber to show up in this series. 2 games in Milwaukee, 1 shot on goal, 6 penalty minutes. Really hasn't been making a whole lot of an impact on a guy that they lean on in their offense. And I mean, credit to the Stars for still being able to get a whole lot of scoring through their lineup in order to get them past Askarov there in game 2. But it's obviously it's going to be all hands on deck in order to advance here. But you got to expect a big gun like that's he's not gonna be sleeping the whole series, and when he does, I think it's gonna be a rude awakening for the Admirals. So they just got to keep playing their game. I mean, Jordan Gross, Luke Evangelista have been incredible for them throughout this whole postseason, and again, what more have I said about Askarov that I can't already add on to it? He's been incredible. And we knew it from the point that he was drafted 11th overall back in 2020. So this is really just kind of the norm. We'll see if he does any. Oh my God, I'm losing does any bench presses with the crossbar there. There we go. It's a fun celebration. I don't know if you want to give your opponent any bulletin board material, especially in the playoffs, but he might be one of those guys that he's a goalie. You never know with goalies. So this one's about to get started here pretty soon. I'm stoked. I'm going to be tuned in, and I'll be giving everyone whatever updates I see kind of rolling across my screen here.
And for those of you who are just scrolling by, just joining us, welcome to the Holy GrAHL. We've been live for just about an hour now, giving you live coverage of the American Hockey League Calder Cup Playoff Divisional Finals action. We've got a jam-packed schedule tonight already in progress. We have the Hartford Wolfpack versus the Hershey Bears. Hartford up 1-0 early in the second period. Then we have the Rochester Americans up 3-1 over the Toronto Marlies at the end of the first. Both of those series could potentially be decided tonight. And then starting up here any minute now, we're going to have Central Division action, the Texas Stars against the Milwaukee Admirals, and the late game tonight will be the Coachella Valley Firebirds versus the Calgary Wranglers. again, another series that could be decided tonight. You are being joined here by hosts, myself, Dina Weinheimer, got Andrew Rinaldi covering the Central Division. You have Zach Power over here covering the North, and then Corey Swartz down here. He is covering your Atlantic Division action. So, guys, it's kind of the elephant in the room. I want to talk about this now before we get too many games going here, but there's a situation a brewing out in Arizona with the Arizona Coyotes and a very important vote which did not go their way yesterday. And so for those of you who may kind of be a little unaware of the situation, if you don't follow the NHL at all, or maybe just don't follow the Coyotes. So I'm going to give you like the 10,000 foot view on all of this, and then we can talk about if this might potentially affect the Tucson Roadrunners. So basically what happened was, of course, the Arizona Coyotes have been playing out of Mullet Arena, a very small college size arena. That's what, like 5,000 seats, if that. So they're trying to find a new home. They're trying to get a deal, a stadium somewhere. And in Tempe, Arizona, this all came to potential public referendums. It was 3 propositions that was put in front of the voters yesterday that would have allowed developers to construct a $2.3 billion Tempe entertainment district. It also would have allowed for rezoning of land, and whether it would approve amending the city's general plan for this district and whether to approve the project's development agreement, and again, rezoning the property for an entertainment district. 29,000 votes have been tabulated. And as of right now, that was as of 8 p.m. their time yesterday. Everything voted no. The Coyotes ownership came out, basically saying that they're going to be working, trying, they're not done yet. The NHL stating that the league is terribly disappointed by the results of the public referenda regarding the Coyotes arena project in Tempe. They will be reviewing with the Coyotes what options might be going forward. But what we have to talk about is, what about their AHL affiliate? They're right there in Tucson. I've already seen all these rumors. There was an ownership group in Utah saying plans are underway about possibly moving a team to Utah. So let's say the Coyotes do end up moving. What happens to the Tucson Roadrunners? I would hate to see them have to get up and move too, but this is just a story that we got to be following.
Maybe if they move to Houston, we could see the San Antonio Rampage make a return. Maybe. Houston Aeros and San Antonio Rampage. I feel like that's a 1-2 deal that you can't really beat anywhere else.
No, you would think that would have to happen, right?
I think, for me, I feel like the obvious choice would be Houston. I mean, outside of Atlanta, which has already gone 0-2, it's a premier market in this nation, and I think a lot of what the league is after is not having to mess with the divisions again all over again. Because once we got Seattle in, it kind of felt like it was comfy, right? And so now here comes another wrench being thrown in. Feels a lot like Chicago again, just throwing wrenches into the machine. But if you put them into Houston, they still stay in that Central Division, and you get to open up a new market, which hasn't ever been touched by this National Hockey League. AHL team, obviously, and the WHA back in the day, but never. The NHL's never really sniffed around in Houston. I know Dee would be ecstatic if she wasn't on a plane in the Pacific right now hearing us talk about Houston and the NHL, but to me, it's almost too obvious. And I've been hearing Salt Lake City. I've been hearing Sacramento, which just sounds gross to me. But I think I would think if the likely scenario ends up where they end up going to Houston, I would like to see the Rampage return. That's an issue that's very near and dear to my heart. I would, unfortunately, if the Yotes are leaving Arizona, I don't see the Roadrunners staying. It's just you look at the trend of all these teams that are enjoying the close proximity to their affiliates. I can't see a situation in which they would allow the Roadrunners to be an 8-hour flight away or whatever it may be. So that's my forecast, but I'm not a meteorologist, so.
I didn't even think that was a possibility, but yet I love it. And I want to sign off on it right now and say, yes, absolutely. Let's please have this happen, because the way that things ended in San Antonio, I hated that for the fans. Absolutely hated that. And to see this kind of comeback for hockey in that market, it's almost like a Disney story. I love it.
And I think it's important too. I remember talking with some Arrows fans back in the day, right? And they were absolutely crushed by losing their franchise, right? Like, it was something that nobody wanted, not the owners, not the fans. The owners wanted to keep hockey there because hockey was not only profitable but loved, right? And I think that that's kind of the important thing to kind of remember, that Houston is this hidden gem of hockey. And, I start to see teams like Quebec rolled around, and I think about like the trickle down effect of that, right? Like, they'd have to completely redo the designs for the NHL divisions, right? Which is not wanted. But I also think about the AHL too. What happens there, right? Like, there's nowhere out east anymore. None of those teams are able to kind of support an AHL team. And okay, you might take away from Trois Rivières, who seems to like things in ECHL. Maybe they get that AHL call up, but what happens there? Right. So, like, there's a lot of trickle down economics that we're kind of talking here in the both NHL and AHL, which could mean big things for both leagues.
Well, we now have 3 games officially underway. Hartford and Hershey. Again, that one is 1-0 Hartford. Rochester, Toronto, 3-0 advantage for the Amerks. And Milwaukee and Texas, just a little over 2 minutes into the game at 0. If you're just scrolling by and joining us, wondering what's going on, we are the Holy GrAHL podcast, and we are giving you live coverage and commentary of all the current games in action here in the American Hockey League for their divisional finals in the Calder Cup playoffs. Also talking about some other news around the hockey world and the American Hockey League. So if you're joining us, want to join in on the conversation on Facebook and YouTube, please drop us a comment. We'll answer your questions or read your comments live on air. If you're on Twitter, use the hashtag THG and be sure to like, share, tell these algorithms that you enjoy our content and that they should possibly share it to someone like you. So, yeah, I don't know what to think about this Hartford Hershey game. Kind of going back to it, we're a little over halfway through the game. Again, Hartford's up 1-0, but we have to give props to the goaltending and the defense, because it's only a 1-0 game, but they lead in shots 21-7. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's definitely not been an ideal offensive game for Hershey, although it seems like they're starting to warm to the task a little bit. Hartford's, not all of them have been quality chances, but, Shepard's had to earn his keep, definitely. He's made a couple of nice saves. There's a save, a few minutes ago. It was a 10-beller for Shepard on a, pretty nice cut-in by Ryan Carpenter to get a couple of shots there. But, for the Bears, you got to look at it in the sense of saying, hey, the Bears haven't had a power play at all this game. They're due to get a couple of chances on the man advantage. Conversely, they've had to kill 2 penalties so far. So the defense wins games. the Bears, it's not a pretty shot total by any stretch. You really wish that the Bears could be generating a little bit more offense, but when you don't get any chances, it doesn't help either, certainly. So, hoping things start to trend in the right direction for the Bears. They've had the last couple of shots, believe it or not, but it's still not pretty. That's for sure.
Got a couple chances opening up here in the Milwaukee Texas game. The Admirals they've been testing Matt Murray. He's shot from the point through a screen. He seems square and confident in that net. They just had a quick bang play on the doorstep. I believe that was John Leonard with the chance. So the Admirals again trying to get up ahead of it on the road here and get ahead of this high flying Stars team. I keyed into it before the series started, but it still amazes me as I'm watching. Milwaukee is just big, and they got a lot of big bodies that are really difficult to move in front of the net. I mean, Austin Royshoff himself is about 6'8". I think he counts as about 3 human beings. So the ads are just filled with a lot of big bodies up front, and it's going to make life really difficult for the Texas defenders and for the other Matthew Murray, whatever you want to call him. He's still got to look around some of these giant towers in front of his face, and it's going to be a challenge. So I think the real matchup into what's going to decide this series is if they can keep those lanes clear and he can see the puck, he's going to stop it.
And it looks like maybe Toronto's showing a little bit of life here. Of course, as I say this, the Amerks kind of make a break down to the other end of the ice, but
don't jinx it.
The play has stopped. That's why I felt comfortable. The puck went out of play. It's okay. But Zach, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot more of a sense of urgency from this Toronto Marlies team, and I think that they're starting to understand that this is do or die for this season, right? This season, which has been a roller coaster to say the least, right? And you're starting to see a lot more pressure. And this was kind of the little moments that I liked from them in the first period is where once they got puck possession and puck control, they did pretty good. And we're starting to see that in the opening 5 minutes. But it'll be interesting to see if they'll be able to keep that up as they go into the final 15. As Joseph Woll made arguably one of his better saves coming down off of his back and reaching up to make the save. So again, it's those little chances where they can't let the Americans come in and get those good quality shots off and from dangerous locations.
So going back to our conversation here about the Arizona Coyotes, Elliot Friedman actually tweeted out less than a minute ago a new letter that was sent out by the Arizona Coyotes president and chief executive officer. Let me try that again. President and Chief Executive Officer Xavier A. Gutierrez. And in this letter that was sent to their season ticket holders, it says, quote, "To our pack, while we are very disappointed Tempe voters did not approve the proposed entertainment district, we want to thank all our loyal fans who supported the Coyotes over the years. Your loyalty is what makes our pack strong. During the 2023-24 season, the Arizona Coyotes will play at Mullet Arena. In addition, we remain committed to Arizona and have already started re-engaging with local officials and sites to solidify a new permanent home in the Valley. We look forward to sharing more with you in the coming weeks." End quote. So it sounds like, at least outward facing, the plan is to try to stay in Arizona, but we can't help but wonder what may be in the future for both them and the Tucson Roadrunners.
It sounds like I just got ghosted and I'm going through all my old matches and just seeing if anyone's still awake at night. So that's the language. I've heard those words spoken before. So that's what it sounded like to me.
Zach, are you okay?
We're okay.
Are you really? Let it out. Let it out. It's okay.
Honestly,
we're all friends here.
Honestly,
I just saw it.
It was one that Wool should have had to. Just another one.
Another one. Oh, it's Yuri Kulik again.
That's why I was like, I seen him coming in with it, and I was like, no, dog, nah, dog. And then he just comes in between the two circles and just rips a shot, and that's it. He just ripped a shot, and it went in.
That's kind of his thing.
He took the shot, and it went in the net, and now it's 4-1.
Ouch.
I asked if they were shaking in their boots thinking about it. He turned 19 a month ago, man.
But see, like, okay, at what point do you start to get the fishing hooks out? Is again the question that I asked 2 goals ago. 4 goals and 15 shots doesn't seem ideal in an elimination games, right? And if you can stop the bleeding now, then why not? You can kind of see it here on the replay, sort of. It didn't come. It just didn't come, and it was just a wrister is all it was. And for most goalies, I want to say it's routine, and I don't want to knock on wool here, right? I really don't, but
he should have had that. 100% should have had that.
Third, where I'm like, you could have had that, right? So what do you do? What do you do in this situation if you're the Marlies? Like, what are your options at this point? It's not even like you could say, all right, we need to tighten up our defense, because your goaltender has to save something, right? And I've been the biggest supporter of Woll throughout this year, and even 3 years ago when he was sitting behind Kazimir Kaskasuo, right? He was a great goaltender then, and he continues to be a solid goaltender now, but you have a bad game. And this is a prime opportunity where we don't want to be like the Patrick Waugh here, right? Like, let's get him out now before something else happens.
I don't know. I would kind of love to see Joseph Woll throw the arms in the air after making a save like Patrick Waugh. That would be, why not?
And you also have to realize, for Maple Leafs fans, what do you have in the NHL goaltending wise in a couple of years? This is your guy. And it looks like Corey's a little more happier than I am.
Corey just
Vinny Iorio. Vinny Iorio on a delayed call. It's his first ever Calder Cup playoff goal.
I have never been able to watch Corey watch a game, and my heart just grew like 10 sizes seeing him so excited. Like, I got to
tempered too.
Yeah, so we got to watch Andrew last year.
No, that was
with his Chicago Wolves going all the way, and we were robbed of being able to see that reaction in the finals. But now we get to watch Corey, and I'm enjoying this. I can't wait to see the clip of this goal coming up here, which shots 23-9 for those keeping track at home.
It's not going to go down as a power play goal, but it did come on a delayed call. So, I mean, it's a very similar situation to what happened to Hershey in game 1, actually, because they were initially going to call Beck Mallenstein for an interference penalty, but they got together and ended up calling the penalty off, although Mallenstein was already in the box, because he smoked a Hartford skater in neutral ice, but the Hartford player did reach his glove up and get a piece of a clearing attempt. And so they got together, called the penalty off, and minutes later, the Bears score on a delayed penalty of their own. Although, of course, for Hartford, it was that was an actual penalty, not a delayed penalty. So it's kind of weird. It's a very weird, like almost mirror-esque play to what happened in game 1, and just in the reverse, totally in reverse. Wow. That's awesome. And Vinny Iorio's first play, he was my standout player defensively of the first period. So you love to see it for him.
And Corey, we have a comment pretty close to your heart here. I won't even read it because I can't do it justice, but here you go. From Will Myers III.
I knew my boy would drop it in. Most likely, what it's a BEARS Bears chant, right?
Yeah, it's just Bears, Bears, Bears. Woo!
Have you guys ever seen the video of the gentleman Lamont Buford that started the BARS chant? It's infectious, man. You want to do it every time they score. After I usually go in and sit in my normal seat, but every time I'm not allowed to cheer in when I go and sit up in the media row, stuff like that. I have a hard time just not. It's so much fun.
And the goals are starting to come in fast and furious here. Toronto scoring. Zach, what happened?
Yeah, they sure are. And you know what? I think that this was kind of the kind of sign of life that we've been expecting from the Marlies to kind of come in. They've been looking for something. And you know what? Maybe it's just a prime example of just get things towards the net. And it started with the bottom and then came back out to the top of the point. And they threw a shot on that I don't think that they were expecting to go in. And they got it. And now it's a 4-2 contest.
Pontus Holmberg getting his second of the night at 9:09 on the power play. When you're hot, you're hot.
No, if only anyone else on the team could pick it up, then they might be all right. They might have another game left in their season.
And that's the thing. It's got to be a full bench effort. I mean, obviously you have your heroes. Unfortunately, with the camera angles the way they are, the replay doesn't really help us much in this case. But here we are. It's a 4-2 contest.
All right, and we have Vincent Iorio's goal here. If you want to see this clip, go to, well, I'll of course share it, but Corey's sharing it on his Bears Hockey Nation Twitter
I'll have it on the other one
accounts
too.
and on his at FPH Bears account here. So I just let the clip kind of reload here, and here's a nice slow-mo. Just, oh, what a beautiful just laser shot there.
Yeah, Vinny Iorio, a very solid defensive prospect. He hasn't scored in quite some time for the Bears. I'll have to go digging the stats to see the last time he got on the board, but it's been quite some time. But if you guys can believe it, he made his NHL debut earlier this season, and his first NHL point was none other than a primary assist on an Alex Ovechkin goal.
Now that's a story to tell.
Uh-oh. Now Vinny Iorio is involved in some fisticuffs. Will Lockwood dropped the gloves on Vinny Iorio, never took his gloves off here after, a big collision along the wall. I'm not sure if Lockwood was involved with that initially. It looks like Iorio may have just sidestepped a hit from a Wolfpack player, and the Hartford bench just really didn't like that collision. It was hard to see. It looks like one guy each is going to the box. We'll see how this sorts out here.
So
Iorio actually went after him. He tried to hit Lucas Johansson. Okay.
So Iorio's last goal in the AHL was against Wilkes-Barre Scranton on January 11th, 2023, in a 4-3 loss to the WBS Pens.
Wow, that's been some time.
Just a little bit.
Good time.
Honestly. I was scrolling, and thanks to the AHL.com for those stats, I just kept scrolling. I'm like, where's there any number other than 0? And then I finally found it.
Yeah, we don't have any goals over here down in Texas, but not for lack of trying. The Stars have had a couple good shifts, and they've been hemming Milwaukee in. There was one glorious opportunity set up in the slot by Riley Barber, actually, and just couldn't connect to the whiffed shot. Another couple opportunities where Askarov kind of kicks a rebound out, but there's no one there from the Stars to pick it up. And I get the feeling that this is probably going to be a 2-1 game. Like this is going to be one of those where these guys, it's going to be a chess match. They're going to feel each other out. And unless there's a power play that kind of breaks this one open, it's going to be tight checking from start to finish. And it's already got that vibe just 10 minutes in, but this is going to be an absolute slog for the next 50 minutes of play. And I mean, I think both of these teams will take it. They want to keep it close. They don't want to start trading chances back to back because eventually someone like Matej Blumel or Phil Tomasino is going to pot one. So I think they're just fine keeping it at a kind of tight grinding game like this one is shaping up to be.
So things are going to be good whenever you just see a message pop up from Zach Power saying, "Lol, what?" So Zach, what's going on here? Let me get this pulled up for you.
Yeah, and I feel like this is kind of like a comedy of errors, right? So, all right, they let him go in. Wolves down like a fish, but watching the corner, this is where the penalty's coming up, and they're doing the little fist pump to the back, a penalty, which it is what it is, I guess, right? He took them down. The Marlies aren't happy right now. Rochester's on the power play, but like the turnover leading to a breakaway is kind of what I've been kind of hammering home. That's the fourth breakaway that the Marlies have let up so far this game, and so it's kind of been the story of this game so far for me is like there's no help for Wool. Wolves can't do anything to help himself, and it's a 4-2 contest.
I was so confused by playoff officiating because you get some officials that will do everything within their power not to impact the game. They want to stay out of it, let the teams play. And then you get some officials that'll call stuff like that. I'm totally lost. Which way is it?
Yes.
And I feel like I remember watching the Calgary Coachella series in Game 2. The referees got them away with a lot of stuff, and you know what? For fair reason, it's the playoffs, right? You expect things to be called a little less, right? And so I don't know. It's maybe a beat bias is showing here a little bit, but here we are, and that just led to a goal for Rochester. It's now 5-2.
Oof. That's that Ameryk's power play is pretty lethal, huh?
Yeah, and again, I talked about it earlier. They're running at like 35% or better, and they've been hot this game too. And all it took was just a shot, and I think it's Rusek who's getting this one as well. So it's a 5-2 contest in a game where, you know what, maybe it's time we start talking about how good Rochester's been playing this game, getting off good quality shots, and this is another prime example of that.
Yeah, Rusek's already got 3 points on tonight. That would make 4 if that's his goal. But
earlier,
Game Center is saying Isaac Rosen for right now.
Yeah,
so.
I think so. I might have gotten the numbers confused there, but yeah, you are certainly right there, sir.
All right, and we'll take a quick look at that goal here. Yeah, 5-2 contest here. Just
a hammer of a one-timer.
Nice screen there in front by Michael Mersch. Veteran doing veteran things.
And I mean, like, again, I don't know who you can really blame there for that sort of goal. It's a power play. It's, you could say one hand that's the defense. You could say one hand that Wool probably wasn't in position or ready for it. But regardless, the score is now 5-2, and it's a tough hole to dig yourself out of.
It's a 3-goal lead. It's the most dangerous league in hockey, or lead in hockey, right?
So they say.
You got to feel like if you're a fan over there in Buffalo and on the lake, you got to be liking what you got coming down the pipeline. I mean, you saw that blast from Isaac Rosen. There's another one. A kid just turned 20 years old out of Sweden. You got Yuri Kulik during Yuri Kulik things. I'm on top of, all the young names that we listed off all of last year that were on the Amerks with Paterka and Quinn and Krebs, to add on to what's really been an upstart team in the league over there, kind of given the Toronto's and the Boston's fits in that division. You got to be excited with what they got cooking. I mean, yeah, it's been about 15 years in the making of the rebuild of the Senators, but it seems like they're finally going to be paying some dividends here.
And
I think you're muted.
Oh, yep, Dean's muted.
She's still muted.
Yeah, you're still muted. Testing.
we'll let her kind of figure that out. But it's been a good night of hockey so far. I think as Milwaukee's kind of getting on the board here near the end of the first period as well. And I mean, tight game in Hershey, and it looks to be a tight one as well in the Central Division, doesn't it, Andrew?
Yeah, Isaac Ratcliffe kind of circles around in the zone and skates out to the middle and beats Murray pretty cleanly. There's a bit of a net front battle in front, but yeah, Ratcliffe, I'm sorry, Corey, but he's been kind of a godsend for the Admirals when they had all those call-ups coming up. Lots of holes in the lineup, lots of opportunity. He's one of the guys who really stepped up and really kind of just needed a change of scenery, I think, out of the Philly organization, and has really come along here in the last couple of months. So yeah, he puts the Admirals on the board, and I mean, we'll see how it changes the makeup of this game now that we finally broke the ice here.
I love that for Isaac Ratcliffe. He's a guy that I was always very high on when he was in Philadelphia, to be honest with you. There was some times where they'd insert him on the fourth line in Philadelphia, and I would say, keep this kid up there. He's a big-bodied guy. They drafted him in the first round for a reason, but it just never really felt like he hit his stride offensively. And it's funny looking at his numbers. Last season was a career year for the kid. He just had a hard time even sniffing the Phantoms lineup at times this past season. Seemed to do a little bit better production wise once he got to Milwaukee there with 16 points, gives him 20 on the season in total in less games than last year too. So I mean, overall not bad, but to me it was baffling that the Flyers sent him away for basically nothing. And I get it, right? It's results driven league. The Flyers may be running out of patience with a former first rounder that, hasn't blossomed into the guy they thought he would. But there's always the potential was there. And I just never really understood what it was with him. But, as they say, one man's trash is another man's treasure in a sense. And, he's gone over to Milwaukee, and he's been a great addition for them.
Now, can you hear me?
There you are.
You sure can.
I don't know what's going on with my microphone. I think the cord might be fritzing out because unfortunately, everything was turned on. It was good. But fun fact for you here, we talked earlier about Yuri Kulik scoring for Rochester, and he has been such upstart in these playoffs. Proof of that goal today has pushed his goal streak to 6 games. Clutch player in the playoffs. All right. And now that we are at the end of the second in Hartford, that is a tied game at 1. Shots favoring Hartford 10-6 in the second. Overall 23-10 again in favor of Hartford through 2. Honestly, Hartford had some chances, but Hunter Shepard doing an amazing job in net for the Bears, just being a total difference maker. But this one's coming down to the third period.
listen, Hunter Shepard's been fantastic this season. And, you always knew, although the Bears split the workload very fairly between him and Zach Fucale in the regular season, look, this is a guy that, in his time in college was, he basically started every single game he possibly could in college once he became the guy. This is a guy that has, 2 national championships, probably should have been 3 if, a certain global event hadn't shut down, a season in March there. I think he would have been well on his way to possibly at least contending for another one, if not earning it. He was just a guy was just absolutely unflappable in his college days. Now he's really running with his opportunity, and the results speak for themselves. I mean, in 6 games for them, Hunter Shepard hasn't allowed more than 2 goals against in any of his 6 games that he started so far. And this game's a perfect example of it, perfect microcosm of his entire workload here, that he's been, vastly overworked here and, keeping the Bears in it in a lot of ways. And, let's be honest, the Bears have been fortunate to have some very great goaltending prospects come through their system over the years. Shepard becoming a regular was as a result of the team moving on from Phoenix Copley. So, Shep's really been just an absolute godsend for this team. Totally the right choice to have in net here. No offense to Zach Fucale, who's been great. Perfect option if the Bears ever need to go back to him. But I love what Shepard's done. It's totally worth recognizing that, he's been the difference maker in a lot of these games, as has the Bears defense. They've all kind of, coalesced. Again, the Bears could be playing a subpar game offensively like they are here, but their defense is so strong. A lot of the saves, there have been some quality ones, some sneaky great saves by Shepard, but there's also been some, instances where the defense has, played a role in keeping those shots, from being higher quality. So, it's kind of come together for the Bears that, it really gives them a chance to win, even though offense hasn't always been their forte here for sure. And Andrew, I'm seeing you react to a lot of stuff there. What's going on?
The Stars just kind of in one shift threw about 3 huge hits at the Admirals, but you know what? They responded and were able to, instead of getting hemmed in there, they were able to transition the other way and actually got a great chance from Luke Evangelista out in front of the net that Matt Murray had to make a big save on. But you kind of feel like the Ads aren't they're not satisfied with just one, that they would like they'd like a second one here. And I was expecting that, these 2 forechecks to really be disruptive in each other's ends, but you've seen both teams kind of make pretty clean exits out of the zone that have allowed for offense going each the other way, and you're going to see a good chance of it here with the Admirals moving the puck up real quick, Ratliff on the retrieval. And he just, the defenseman blows a tire, but he gets back in position. But, I mean, it just beats Murray cleanly with the shot, and the Admirals are on the board. I'm sorry again, Corey, that you have to live through another Philly first rounder. Yeah.
Listen, the new era of Orange is here, all right? So we're throwing everything out the window that happened before. The Flyers are going to draft a really good prospect with the number 7 pick. It's going to be a fun year for me because all my draft picks seem to be coming in order in the first round at least. I only have to tune in to pick 7 and 8, and then I'm good. So unless the Flyers have another one that I'm not aware of, I don't think that they do. Maybe they do. I don't know. I haven't been paying so much attention. But, with the Flyers, I'm really trying to just, focus on the good. They have a lot of quality players there. They may not be perfect next year. It's probably not going to be that fast, but I am a person, I listened to the entirety of the press conference introducing Danny Briere as the general manager and Keith Jones as the president of hockey operations. I love both those guys. Keith Jones, he's been on television for so long. There's something about television voice that just kind of is an extra layer of reassuring.
Pierre
But,
McGuire?
Okay, maybe not in every case, but, the other option they had was Eddie Olczyk, all right? So, I'd rather have someone dyed in the wool. The other big part about Keith Jones I'm just getting to is he's a former Flyer, and you could just see in his introductory press conference the reverence he has for the Philadelphia Flyers as an organization. He bleeds orange and black. Danny Briere, one of the all-time leaders in playoff points for the Flyers organization, he bleeds orange and black. there's even a good chance, from my understanding, I've been reading some great rumors that the Flyers may be going back to the burnt orange Eric Lindros era jerseys, that shade of orange, which I absolutely will love, and I will most likely be purchasing a jersey if that's the case. So I like what the future has in Philadelphia. Just hoping it's a direction that they pull off this time. Dina, you look like you're absolutely waiting to say something.
We have a nice fight in Rochester, and Zach, how tall is Zahorna? He looks massive.
He's a big boy, and I'm surprised that the referees let him go so far. They're on the ground, like, having a nice
rolling
little,
around.
yeah, rolling around in the ice. And these guys don't care. I don't know. I didn't expect this. This is really the first sign of physicality, to a sense, that we've seen in this series. Like, I don't think that it's kind of really lived up to a physical expectation, per se, right? Like, but they're fighting like they want to keep their playoff hopes alive, and the Rochester Americans are fighting like they're ready to go against the winner of Hershey and Hartford right now. So it'll be yeah. I think I just said Rockford, didn't I?
You did. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and see, this is where it kind of started in the corner. Then all of a sudden, the referees are like, "Oh, hi, this is happening here," which you don't often see in any league, really, where they just let you kind of tumble around on the ground a little bit. But there was obviously some things going on in the corner too, and
so my heart kind of stopped there when that linesman, number 79, whenever you see him come in after these guys, his skate blade gets so close to the Amerks player's head here. Oh, that I literally got like.
But it's just odd to me that the referee would just stand over and watch and not get in the middle of it. It's not something that I've entirely seen before. I thought it was kind of an unwritten rule that if there's that kind of on the ground stuff, someone steps in, right?
But I'm just saying, that skate blade got so close to the Rochester's player's head. The old medical person in me, just my stomach just got in knots. Like, oh god, that could have ended so bad because he doesn't have a helmet or anything on, and this linesman just comes in out of nowhere. It's I don't know.
Did he maybe think in the moment? No, the answer is most likely no, but did he think that maybe the old-fashioned snow shower in between the two guys players there, maybe that would get at least one guy to stop? Now, of course, it'd probably be the guy who's on the ice.
Cool him off.
Yeah, there's no easy way to say cool off, and with a good snow shower, you get some snow, some water in your eyes type of thing. That'll end a fight real quick, maybe, but it's kind of like when you're the expert ice skater and you take your girlfriend ice skating for the first time, right? And you're like, you got to go real fast and go up to her and spray her and scare the crap out of them, right?
So I'm getting texts from my husband who's watching our dogs in the back. Linesman number 79 is Brandon Grillo. The refs 42, Jordan Samuels Thomas, 47, Carter Sandlag. I can always depend on him for all the latest in the reffing world news. But
I'm always a fan of Carter Sandlag. He had one specific moment in the World Junior Championships. I believe it was 2021. It was the one where Zegras scored, I believe, the winner. Or no, Turcotte scored the winner and Zegras scored the insurance. And Knight shut him out. Sorry, Zach. But Carter Sandlag had one specific moment. And I can't say it on this podcast, but his response to a certain ornery player will forever endear me in my heart. We're just finishing up the first period here in Texas. Alex Petrovic took a cross-checking penalty, so the Admirals, already with a 1-0 lead, will start the second with a fresh sheet of ice and a minute and 47 seconds of power play time. So, with all the talent on that Ads team, pretty good opportunity there with, like I said, fresh sheet of ice, which is there's been some tires blown, but especially by the Stars here. They keep trying these pirouette kind of, stop and start again, and you see them kind of losing an edge and blowing a tire. Maybe the Zamboni kind of cleaning it up will help that out. I don't know if it's something up with the ice down there in Texas. I know everyone's been complaining about these southern teams, especially considering the Final Four in the NHL, but I don't want to hear about it. I watched an entire playoff series in Stockton last year, so I've seen it all.
So I've got the Toronto feed on for the Toronto Rochester game. And because I just saw like a meeting of the minds, potential goal for Toronto. And the first thing I heard was they're running around like cats, striped cats. Well, some
Todd
kind of
Cracker,
cats.
baby. That's Todd Cracker. And you know what? I will say this before I talk about the goal. With the news that Joe Bowen might be retiring, Crawford seems like the shoe-in, and I really hope he is because he's kind of deserved it. He's been around the game for a long, long time, especially in the Ontario sports market. As you'll see the goal, if you can make heads or tails of this, please explain it to me. But all I see is just a bunch of digging the stick and hoping that something kind of sticks. And then they cut to this camera feed, and that's it. That's the end of the story. That's what happened. What happened? I don't know.
It's like
But it's a 5-3 game.
Yeah, I see a player down on the ice kind of holding his face, and then I see a couple players skate in from the next county over just with their arms up like, yeah, I think we did something good.
One guy who's reminded me why I still wear a cage on my helmet when I play hockey, honestly. It's whenever you're holding your face, you come away holding your face from a play like that. I always just it just hurts me, those kinds of injuries, those kinds of plays where you catch a puck up high. It feels like it's more high percentage than you give it a chance for.
All right, so just a quick update if you're scrolling by. It's been a little bit since we've done this, but hello, welcome to a live edition of the Holy GrAHL. We're doing a watch along here for the American Hockey League Divisional Finals here on May 17th, 2023. We have a live commentary on 3 games going right now. We got Hershey and Hartford. That is in the third period. That game is locked up at 1. We also have the Rochester Americans and Toronto Marlies. Just finished up the second period. That one is 5-3 in favor of Rochester. And then we also have the Milwaukee Admirals and Texas Stars. That one's at the end of the first period. Milwaukee leading that game 1-0. We encourage you to get in on the conversation. So feel free to, if you're on Twitter, tweet us using the hashtag THG Live. If you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube, please go ahead and just put a comment in the chat because you may get featured. I'll do this again for Corey just because, he's the Bears guy here. But again, you can get featured just like this. So thanks again for everyone who has been chatting along with us today. Samantha, Zach, Will, Gary, we appreciate all of you for interacting with us, sharing the stream, all that good stuff. So I'll kind of turn it back over here to the guys as I go because we got to update this ticker again.
Yeah, that was Pontus Holmberg's third goal of the night. He is the Marlies better up that chiropractor bill for him because he's going to throw his back out carrying this team to try and get a dub here to save the season. Someone's got to help my boy out here. He can't do it all himself, or can he?
Yeah, this win is brought to you by Aleve, the number 1 back killer for Pontus Holmberg, who's, put it plain and simple, has, he's gotten some goals that have been, ones that you wouldn't normally get. I get the whole like poke and score kind of thing, and the whole slap shot thing that kind of came out of nowhere. But you know what? Those are great examples of just getting the puck on net and seeing what happens, right? We talked about it in the last intermission, and I'll say it again. They just kept jamming at it and it went in the net. And so that's kind of what they need to just start doing is shooting and scoring.
Pass, shoot, and score.
All right.
Shoot
Well,
and score.
I have another kind of NHL AHL tie that we just kind of need to mention here. Browsing through Twitter a little bit earlier, as a lot of people know that follow the NHL, the Calgary Flames are in need of a new head coach. They parted ways with Daryl Sutter not too long ago, towards the end of after the end of the season. They desperately need a new head coach, as do a few other teams. My Columbus Blue Jackets sends their regards. But one name that I am seeing come up as a candidate for this is the current head coach of the Calgary Wranglers, and Mitch Love. Of course, I believe for the past 2 years, he's been the top coach awarded in the league. I can't think of the name of the award off the top of my head, but he has done great things with the last year with the Stockton Heat, and now they moved to Calgary. Now are the Wranglers, making some noise in the playoffs. Maybe not this round, but I digress. But guys, what do you think about that potential move? I mean, it's smart to at least discuss it.
Right. You get a guy who is been in touch with all the players, kind of going through the system and everything. It kind of seems natural, right? You're going to be obviously in the likes of Connor Zary and Jacob Pelletier. Obviously, Dustin Wolf's going to be coming up here pretty shortly. It seems like a no-brainer, which makes me feel like Calgary's going to go elsewhere. I mean, I know there was after last year's big season, there was a lot of expectations and the team fell short. I really don't think a lot of it was Daryl Sutter's fault. And I know that's a very divisive opinion over there in Alberta. And I get he's kind of, and I mean this in the most endearing way possible, Daryl. He's kind of a dinosaur, right? I mean, he's a very old school hockey mentality. And I feel like the personalities didn't gel a whole lot. And as Corey's going through this existential crisis here, I'll talk a little bit more about Calgary. It's tough to ping where they're going in a direction with this franchise. And right, you feel like Mitch Love is it's almost too good, too obvious for it to be it. I don't know if they're gonna wait to see who becomes available and pluck someone else out because they want a real win now mode, because nothing says win now like letting Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk go. But it's a new era of Flames hockey coming along. I think if this team would be fine if Jacob Markstrom could have ever stopped the puck at any point during the season. He was just absolutely 180 different goaltender from last year to this year. And I think that caused a lot of this team's problems. I think if all they had to do was kind of squeak in, and they could have very much have been what Florida is looking like up top. So I would love it for Mitch Love. I mean, he's done everything but win a Calder Cup, and it's still TBD at this point, at this level. And again, he's going to be kind of growing up with a lot of these young prospects that are going to be breaking into that lineup. But again, it seems like it's almost too obvious from a Flames organization that doesn't really do a whole lot of the obvious, okay? And now we're going to turn around to Corey. Are you okay there, bud?
I'll work on getting you guys a clip here in a second. There's a lot of stuff happening. Sam Anis just had a penalty shot, and he got robbed by the right hand of Louis Domingue. I believe Sam Anis had a penalty shot goal last spring in the Calder Cup playoffs. But now Hartford has a power play.
I'm
Left wing.
pretty sure he did. I'm like, I'll say like 94.5% sure.
That's specific.
I don't know why I'm being that oddly specific, but I just felt like it. But all I can say is if Calgary being the Flames has one iota of a brain cell, they will get Mitch Love up top before somebody else poaches him away, because it will happen. And why not keep that, in-house? Why let it go somewhere else?
I'm looking at you, Carolina, with Warzy. What were you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I get why, like, okay, Ron Brindamore, yes, but at least move him up in some capacity. Don't let him go. I mean, at least he didn't go in conference or in division, but still, you let him go. He's
Yeah.
done all that for you, and you've let him go to the Sharks? Come on.
I was kind of hoping for them to win Connor Bedard just for Warzy, but of course I can't have nice things in life.
Oh, baby!
Corey's riding the roller coaster over here.
Yay!
Lucas Johansson scores, another defenseman.
But guess who can't have nice things? Corey! He can have nice things.
Ah, that's Lucas, my boy. I'm so proud of him. He's had such a tough season. An absolute snipe on the right-hand side of Louis Domingue. Oh my goodness, that was a beaut.
So the same
Someone
hand
look up
that
the last time that Lucas Johansson scored a goal.
I got you, friend. Just give me a
28th
minute.
of October. Zach
Hey.
just said it on air.
And here we go. Bears. Bears, Bears, Bears.
Bears,
Woo!
Bears, 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 Bears. Woo!
Yeah, I don't do the woo that well. I'm kind
I've
of
been doing it since I was a little kid, man.
Yeah. But the Bears up 2-1 with 15:38 remaining in the third period. Hartford still has that big advantage in shots, 28-12, but Hershey leading where it counts. Will is trying to get me to do the woo. You do not want to hear me do the woo. I don't want to hear me do the woo. You will get my two dogs in the back barking. I'm not going to do it. How about this? How about this? If the Bears close it out tonight, I will woo.
I can lead you in the chant as a chant expert.
Okay, I'm totally down. But for now, it's time for me to update that all-important banner.
And I mean, we were talking about Calgary too. They got a lot of cool things to look forward to as well, because the Saddle Dome is soon going to no longer be the Saddle Dome, home of the Wranglers, because they had announced a couple weeks ago that they're going to have a $1.2 billion arena and event center and community rink, which is going to be built in downtown Calgary, as they kind of look towards that. I mean, it's significantly higher than their previous estimate, which was about $634 million. So it's going to be a home for the Wranglers, the Flames, the Roughnecks, the Hitmen. So it's kind of been something that obviously Calgary has kind of been looking for a long time. And so it's going to be on the corner of 14th Ave and 5th Street by the southeast, by the sounds of it. And so, yeah, it's some good news for Calgary Flames fans, as they've been, again, waiting for this for a long time. And I hope that they kind of build it in mind of having a lot of professional sports teams being full-time anchor tenants. So, yeah, something desperately needed for Calgary, and they're doing it, I think, mirroring what Edmonton's kind of doing, one-upping the rival city. And news for them, 1.2 billion though. Arizona, take notes.
Did you see the fake mock-up of the arena? Somebody did a fake one, and it was in the shape of a cowboy hat.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Wouldn't it though?
They're gonna have to keep up the whole saddle theme.
Is it going to be called the Corey Center?
Yes, the Corey Center.
I would think that's a pretty great name. I'm just saying. I'm a little biased.
If you don't know what we're talking about, head back, go to our YouTube channel and scroll back just a few episodes where we have an episode called Country Corey, which, hey, we're, happy Corey, Country Corey, and you'll get the full Corey Chesney experience. But Corey, what just happened here, friend?
Garrett Pilon just scored. Oh, I got to see this. It was a rebound. A shot hits Deming in the top of the leg pad and just kicks right out to Garrett Pilon on the other side. 3-1 Hershey.
I'm wooing tonight, aren't I?
You're wooing tonight.
Oh,
That's a huge goal for Garrett Pilon too. He's been he's usually regarded as more like a playmaker scorer, but he's been a physical force in this game. This series really. He drew a great power play by just drilling two Hartford players in game one and resulted in a penalty that the Bears ended up scoring on to spark their comeback. Oh my goodness. Opportunistic. The shots are 28-13. It should be 28-14 as it was a save rebound. I think they'll have to adjust that. But, 3 goals on 13 shots. You can't buy a better, shooting percentage than that.
And Will Myers III checking in once again with the Bears chant, which, again, if you want to hear me woo, I am adamant. I do not woo. So if you want to hear me woo, it sounds like just stay tuned for the end of the broadcast. And I will be doing that because I am a woman of my word.
I'm clipping goals so rapidly for you guys right now. The first one is in there. Man, there's a couple of guys in Hartford that are guys under my own heart right there. There's a guy in a Bears jersey, and right next to him is a guy in a Flyers jersey.
It's the Corey row.
Exactly.
Normally, everything's coming up Millhouse today. Everything's coming up Corey.
I had to sweat it a little bit. I'm just saying, you guys missed out on not being there with me for the reaction to game one. It was a absurdly great reaction. I wish I could replicate it for this.
That Lucas Johansson goal, though, wow!
Perfectly
impressive.
placed, as all things should be on that shot. I mean, you wouldn't even thought that was his first goal since October because of that absolute snipe. There's hardly any daylight there.
Nobody was on him either, so he had all the time in the world to get that shot lined up, pick that perfect spot. So that was the go-ahead goal, and then Corey is working on getting us the insurance goal. But Brian Gravino checking in with us on Facebook. Let's do this, Bears. It looks like the Bears might just be doing the thing today, guys. But yeah, if you want to join us, share your opinion. You can be like Will and Brian and checking in on Facebook. If you're watching us live, just go ahead and put your comment in the chat. We will get that live on air for you. Same thing if you're over on YouTube. Just go ahead and check on in like Zach Martin did earlier and just jump in the live chat. Or if you are on Twitter, that's okay. We got you too. Just go ahead and tweet us at the Holy GrAHL, again, GRAHL, or you can use the hashtag THGLive. Will, thankful for a little bit of company there, saying, Brian, thanks for joining. Was getting lonely in here. Both of you guys, thank you so much. We definitely appreciate you joining and interacting.
The peanut gallery from Hershey games, along with me, is in full attendance here, and I appreciate that.
Hey, it's good to see the Bears just doing good. So back on THG Live on Twitter, Zach, can Toronto mount a comeback in the third, or are the Marlies just out of gas?
I don't think that there's necessarily out of gas. I think that there was little signs of hope that we seen in the second period. And if I was them, I'd go back to kind of the formula that they had earlier on in the first period and even in the second period for most what I'm talking about. And let's just get in and get set up and then start hammering in those shots. There was lots of good opportunities where the Marlies just kept throwing things on net. And that was where I kind of felt that they were the most dangerous, right? Let's huddle and swarm that net. But, there's a big question mark in the goaltending, right? Like the defenseman can't block everything, right? And it's not the game that Joseph Wool has wanted so far this game. He's let up 5 goals on 25 shots going into the third period. You know, that late goal kind of signaled that, there could be a little bit of late, and the Marlies know that they can just throw something on net and look for juicy rebounds, right? And that's what I would be looking for. Can they mount a comeback? Yes or no? It's possible. It's possible.
Like the answer. I mean, that's the truth of it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this pulled up here. This is the go-ahead goal I guess the insurance goal. We already saw the go-ahead goal from Lucas Johansson, but we have a nice goal from Garrett Pilon here to make it 3-1.
Yeah, that's Garrett Pilon off of a rebound of a Connor McMichael shot. Now, a fun little bit of trivia for those guys. They had some chemistry back in McMichael's rookie season in 2021 in that pandemic-shortened season where Garrett Pilon fed Connor McMichael for a memorable overtime winner with hardly, if any, time on the clock that stood up as, the game winner over the Binghamton Devils. It's a little bit in reverse this time where you're seeing McMichael, of course, with a shot save rebound to Pilon, but nonetheless, technically reads Pilon to McMichael. I mean, McMichael to Pilon. My apologies. So, a nice little bit of chemistry there to see between those two guys. And, finally getting a bounce, right? The Bears hadn't really been getting too many fortunate breaks in this game here in terms of even getting shots on goal, but they're really cashing in on these opportunities. And it's great to see. It's great to see some guys that haven't gotten the board as much in the regular season, getting rewarded for their strong play here tonight.
Well, Wyatt Kalnick's really not doing or giving Louis Domingue any favors. If you go back and watch this, while that cross-ice pass is happening, he basically has his own goaltender screened. And honestly, I'm not overly impressed by any of the defensive play on this one. Hartford just looks tired, totally disinterested in trying to come back in this one. And yeah, you did not do any favors there, Wyatt. Louis did not stand a chance.
Well, it's kind of weird you mentioned that because, there are higher quality opportunities that the Wolfpack were once generating have seemingly fizzled out a little bit. They had one just a moment ago where they tried to, look for an area pass for a incoming forward to, try to swat net. But now it's really kind of seeing Hartford where it's not really landing flat in their sticks, landing in the quality opportunities, resulting, Shepherd's had, by my count, I think 8 saves so far in this period. But, you wouldn't know it. It's only 5. I apologize. It was 20, only 5 is what the score sheet has recorded here. But it's been, it's been fewer and farther between. And that's really a credit to Hershey's defensive structure there, too, making it hard on them. The Bears' defense is so suffocating that, you may get some periods, like the first period, a little bit like the second period, where you'll feel good about yourself. But the Bears will really just, suffocate you in a lot of ways. So, I kind of give Hershey's, defense a lot of credit in this particular instance as well.
All right, so just a quick rundown of all the scores of all the games that are in action right now. The first game, Hershey versus Hartford, with 7:57 remaining in the third period. Hershey has a 3-1 lead. If they keep this lead, they will clinch the series and move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Next, Rochester over Toronto, 17:40 remaining in the third period. The Amarks are over the Marlies, 5-3. Once again, if Rochester which they struggled. It was really close for them to even get into these playoffs. But, if they win tonight again, we'll also clinch a berth in the Eastern Conference Final. So we could possibly have that division or that conference final set. And then out in the West, we have the Milwaukee Admirals leading 1-0 over the Texas Stars with 14:41 remaining in the second period. And starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, we have the Calgary Wranglers going up against the Coachella Firebirds. Calgary fighting for their playoff lives here as they look to avoid being swept in that one.
We have a tie game in Texas. Ben Gleason kind of just walks over the blue line and really just it seemed like kind of a harmless shot at first, but he kind of throws it through the defender's legs. Askarov has trouble picking it up, and it beats him cleanly. We are 1-1 down in Texas.
How fast things can change in hockey. I'm like looking at the live scoreboard, and yeah, there we go. I guess it's once again time to update that all-important tracker you're seeing down at the bottom of the screen. These teams keeping me busy tonight.
I blame my game partially for that. It's been a pretty back and forth there for a little while, 5-3, and you're starting to see that that Marley squad kind of come out and throwing everything at the net to start off in the third period. This could be their last third period that they play this season. So, and that's the way that they got to fight.
Huge save by Hunter Shepard. Partial breakaway. Who was that? Man, a huge save. I'm going to have to clip that one. That was a great save. Enstrom, I believe it was.
Yeah, Adam Edstrom with a really nice chance, but like Corey said, Hunter Shepard coming up big for the BEARS, 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 Bears. I'm going to be hearing that in my sleep tonight.
Yeah, it's the same thing I hear in my sleep, so that makes two of us.
I live in
By the
Ohio.
way, fun fact about Lucas Johansson's goal. He's now in, I want to say, at least his fifth professional season I can think of. It's probably been more than that by now, but that's his first career Calder Cup playoff goal. So that's two first goals for Lucas Johansson and Vincent Iorio in this game.
There's just so much action. I have 3 windows open right now. It's kind of in like a triangle formation on my extra monitor here. And I'm just like, there's so much hockey and I'm loving it. But I have to say, the Hershey Bears account on Twitter, they are showing live footage, or not, well, I guess clips of the watch party at the Bears Den, and there's Coco there. He's got a drum, he's banging it. Everybody is just living their best lives over at the Bears Den in Hershey. I wish I could show it, but with copyright and all that stuff, I really can't. Yeah, go check them out at the Hershey Bears on Twitter. They are just buzzing at the Bears Den.
Yeah, it's all across the street from my old stomping grounds where I used to live when I was down in Hershey for a couple of years there. It sucked because I really didn't get to enjoy that as much, being over the wrong side of a particular event that kind of hampered my couple of years down there in Hershey. But Bears Den is a great hockey-themed restaurant, kind of one of a kind in that sense. So it's nice to see them having a really, really well-attended watch party there. There's actually a couple of black aces for the Bears there in Clay Stevenson and Benton Moss as well, which is really cool to see. Both of them played for the Bears briefly this season.
We're going to go ahead and take a look at that tying goal for the Texas Stars.
Yeah, you can see Gleason he's got a lane down the runway, neutral zone. No one impedes him. And they beat Milwaukee's forecheck. They activate the speed from the defense. And, Ben Simon, before he was kind of canned over there in Grand Rapids, I asked him, what makes this Stars team just so impressive? What the Griffins could possibly learn in their kind of quest to, climb the Central Division standings. We saw how well that went. And he said they have 3 defensive pairings of big bodies that can move the puck. They can skate, and you can see just how it changes how you play when you can get offense from guys like those who can, not just have the vision to move the puck up, but the wheels to take advantage of all of that space that Milwaukee gave them. And they haven't been given a lot this one, and it looks like they just took the lead right back. The Admirals are on top, but that's been a key strength to the Stars game all season, and it looks like Joakim Kamel on the doorstep puts home the Jimmy Huntington pass from behind the net. We have a 2-1 Milwaukee Admirals lead.
So we go from talking about goals to big stops. Corey, go ahead and talk about this clip here in the Bears.
Some of Hunter Shepard's best work here. You see a nice little flip pass to an area to, for a partial breakaway, but Hunter Shepard plays it very well. He kind of, comes out a little bit, cuts down the angle just a bit here. And, kind of look what I found, hits off of his glove type of save. Just some of his best work. Again, we talked about how big of a factor Shepard's been. Not, this game's just sort of been, a microcosm of it. And, now the Bears, it's kind of coming down under 3 minutes here in the game. That saves a big reason why it's still a 2-goal lead for Hershey, not just a 1-goal lead. So, the Bears have rewarded him with a good lead, and they're going to try to see if they can't finish this off here. But there's a lot of action going on here as the Hartford Wolfpack have pooled their goaltender. They've had their goaltender pooled for about the last 2 minutes here, guys. So with about 4:35 left, they got Louis Domingue to the bench, and they've been skating with 5 guys, and it's a lot of bouncing puck, a lot of scrambling action here as they control the puck here. So we're seeing if the Bears can maybe try to hit an empty netter here, or see if Hartford cuts back into this a little bit.
So what I noticed on that clip that we just watched of that save was the communication between Gabriel Carlsson, a player that I know well from my time covering Cleveland, and Hunter Shepard. So Hunter Shepard makes that save, and that puck's just kind of hanging out there. So he's got 2 defenders in front. I assume 2 defenders in front of him, and there's reinforcements for Hartford coming in, but the puck's kind of hanging out there. And instead of, them trying to make a play with it, Gabriel Carlsson just gets the puck very calmly, very carefully back to Hunter Shepard, who ices it. They didn't take any chances. They want to preserve that lead and make that save really count. So just nice communication there inside of their defensive zone. And poor Corey, I think he's just going to be sitting there praying for the next minute 8 in game time as the Hershey Bears are up 3-1 over the Hartford Wolfpack, potentially getting ready to clinch a berth in the Eastern Conference playoffs.
We're in the last minute. Oh, they held it in.
I mean, this is possibly the best I've seen Hartford all night.
They've had a lot of zone time, man.
To show up.
Right? What a time to show up. You're down 2 with less than a minute remaining, but they're maintaining the zone. They're cycling really well.
Oh, Johnny Brodzinski had a great shot from the angle, but he missed it, and then he fumbled it. Snively's ahead with an empty net. He cuts in, and he missed. Oh, that would have iced it. Oh, but there's only 15 seconds left.
I think you'll be fine, Corey.
It's iced, Corey. It's iced. You're okay. Breathe.
I want an empty netter. I want another one. I made the save. All right.
2-1. And we have cue the air horns. Ba, 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 ba. We have our first conference final clinched. Corey, tell us all about it.
That is a fantastic win for the Bears. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. They go into a foreign, a building they haven't been in for a long time. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm collecting my thoughts here and doing some tweets.
Well, meanwhile, we got Will Myers III still on our Facebook. He's been with us all night. I appreciate you. We got a series of comments. First, BRB, got to go find my broom. Wait, where did I put that thing? Ah, here it is. Broom, broom, broom.
But I don't think anybody had a sweep predicted in this series. I had some people that I saw that mystified me by saying that Hartford was going to take this series very easily. And, I'm not a guy that trusts stats all the way for these kinds of things. I'm the kind of person, I believe in this group. The Bears have wowed me in many ways this season, and even down 1-0, and it didn't look good. We talked about the shot counter earlier. We talked about, the Bears seemingly being under siege, but these guys, they're not fazed by it. They just simply kept playing Hershey Bears hockey, and it wasn't an eye-popping shot count. I think it's ultimately a little bit lower personally than I think actually it might have been. But they just kept doing the things that made them successful, and they got the quality opportunities, the grade A's, as Troy Mann always used to call them, and they buried them. They buried them, and they got it from some unfamiliar place up and down the lineup. The Vinny Iorios, the Lucas Johanssons, Garrett Pilons, the guys that don't score all the time. They kind of pick up the slack and just absolutely made this win happen. And they're moving on as a result. This team's depth is just next level to me. And it's just, it makes me smile to see those guys, not only because they deserve the rewards of their hard play and, some of the defensive players especially, but, just for the Bears in general. It's been so long. They were robbed for such a good number of years, dating back to 2020 and, 2021 and, even a little bit last year too. Just so happy for these guys right now. They really deserve it.
You're muted, Dino. Yeah, again.
Can I just say, all right, Rochester just scored. All right, I want to say this. That was the best 11 minutes of the Toronto Marlies playoffs. And I would beg out of any game that I've seen so far this year, that was their best 11 minutes. They had Rochester hemmed in. Oh, I want to say it was every bit of 6 minutes. And I would say that in that time, they probably got like 2 changes out. And Rochester comes in and just, I don't want to say floats one on, but like it just felt like they just floated one on. And Malcolm Subban played out of his mind. Great goaltending, the signs of what we've seen in the deciding game in Syracuse. It was the best 9 minutes of Marlies hockey I've seen all playoffs. And they topped it up with a goal.
All right. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
I honestly think the cord to my microphone is going bad. So it looks like I got to order one tonight. But first, we got a couple of goals to review here. First, we're going to have Andrew with this go-ahead goal for the Milwaukee Admirals.
Yeah, well, I talked about how it's all going to be, forechecking and grinding, and that's exactly what Milwaukee does. They fight. Texas doesn't collect the puck cleanly behind their net, and Joakim Kamel out front, bang, bang play. Murray can't react, and it's in the back of the net. Again, that steady Stars defense there. They kind of, you can see the puck kind of fumble behind the net. Slap it up the boards, quick out, but he tries to control it. He kind of loses it, and Jimmy Huntington's Johnny on the spot. I should say Jimmy on the spot, and Joakim Kamel's right there, unmarked, just battling out in front of the net, and you see him kind of come in late. No one picks him up, and he's out there wide open all alone. Milwaukee, you feel like they've really been coming downhill. I mean, the Stars haven't had a lot of great grade A chances in this one, and Milwaukee hasn't had a ton either, but you got to feel like as the visiting team, on the road, that's kind of what you want. You don't want chances. You want to kind of pick your spots, pick your opportunities, and just kind of grind them down as best as you can. And that's really, we're seeing a lot of that was actually a really good look. The high rising clears and a lot of pucks getting chipped down in, and it's a race to the boards, and whoever can battle it out and either get going in transition or hold it in and get some kind of chances in on the other netminder. So you saw that the Admirals were able to work it below the net, get a look, and here we are, 2-1 lead on the road.
And Will Myers chiming in again. I'm not getting out of doing the woo. I promise to end the show tonight. I will. I promise.
She's got to hype herself up for it first.
I gotta get myself ready. Might do a couple practice ones here. But we're gonna go ahead and fly on over to Rochester, New York, where again it is a 6-3 game, and I think all hopes of a comeback for the Marlies might have been put to bed.
Yeah, and Isaac Rosen's going to get the credit for this goal, and this is a prime example of kind of the defense that we've seen that maybe the Marlies need to kind of go back to the drawing board in the offseason and look at and say, is this something that we want to continue to do, right? Because this has kind of been the thing that's kind of hurt them in the playoffs, is just defense, right? Like there's been a lot of goals this playoffs where you don't want to blame Petruzzelli. There's a lot of goals where I didn't want to blame Shalgren, and it's the same with Wool here tonight. That is another prime example where what is Wool to do? Right, there's not much that you could possibly can do. I will say that there was a lot of goals tonight that kind of were his fault, but like stuff like that is not. And it comes on the heels of what I think was one of the best. I will say one of the best first half of the periods I've seen all year from the Marlies.
17 goals against and not even 3 full games played. That's not going to win you a lot of playoff series if you're Toronto. That's not on one goalie. That's on the whole team.
It certainly is, and I think that's kind of my big sticking point with this is I think that it kind of relies back on the back end. We haven't seen anything from the bottom six, and that's where everything kind of lies for me. The offense has kind of been there when it wants to be, but it hasn't entirely been there, and you could say that their offensive core is a shell of what it was, say, in January, right? But the defense hasn't changed, right? Not really, not substantially enough that I could say, wow. And here we are.
So I think Corey has a little bit of information to share about the upcoming Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, so we're waiting around to see if these games go final. We might know the schedule as soon as tonight, possibly. We do know, I can pass along a tidbit that Zach Fish on the Hershey Bears radio network just dropped on us a little bit here, is that we do know the format of the schedule at least. It will be a 2-2-1-1-1 format, your traditional best of 7 Calder Cup playoff actions. We shift finally to 7-game series for the Eastern Conference Final. So we'll see how it goes here. If the Bears can hopefully, maybe even know we can even pass on a schedule as soon as tonight. So we'll see what happens.
So right now, just a quick check-in on the score. Rochester has that 3-goal lead, 6-3 with 6:47 left in the third period. Again, if they win tonight, meaning the Amerks, then the Eastern Conference Final will be set. Toronto has the advantages in shots, 34-30. But if you would have told me when we started tonight that it would be Joseph Woll letting up the 6 goals and not Malcolm Subban, I mean, I don't know. But Toronto trying to make a late push here just scored 6-4. I jinxed it. I'm sorry, Rochester fans. I was just talking about Malcolm Subban. I was about ready to say, I swore earlier, like last series, that I was never going to, talk bad about Malcolm Subban ever again. And then he lets up a goal as soon as I start thinking that. So my bad. I'm sorry.
Yaroslav Askarov with the highway robbery stretching the pad out on Marian Studenic. Oh my lord. That looked painful. That hurt my thighs just looking at it. Stars are on a power play here, but I mean a couple of grade A chances. I think that was Isaac Ratcliffe had a bit of a half breakaway chance on Murray, and then Studenic on that one. But the goaltender is coming up with a pair of huge saves. It's a tight one down here in Texas. We're still at 2-1. The Admirals kind of hanging on to this lead. We'll see what they do with this penalty kill here.
All right, 4:13 remaining, 2-1, or 4:08 now remaining in the second, 2-1 Milwaukee, and then with 6:06 remaining in the third, Rochester over Toronto 6-4, and then the result already done for the evening. Hershey, the Bears, advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals with a sweep of the Hartford Wolfpack 3-1. But I gotta give props to the Hartford Wolfpack, though. They brought playoff hockey back to Hartford, Connecticut. They were basically a punching bag last season. We've talked about this ad nauseum, and it was looking like to be more of the same this year. But they defied our expectations. I think the expectations of the fan community for the American Hockey League as a whole, made the playoffs and made a little bit of noise while they were at it. So great job. My hats off, stick taps for the Hartford Wolfpack. They put up a great performance here, but just fell a little bit short here in the division finals. But again, great job to that organization.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, there was hardly, if any, expectations for Hartford to even make the playoffs, let alone this far. So, the Atlantic is such an absolutely stacked division, right? There's some great teams there. You think back to the Charlottes, the Springfields, the Lehigh Valleys. Some teams that were just absolutely, looked like the teams that could do some damage in the postseason like this. And Hartford really just, I think, surprised everybody to make it to this point. And like you said, they broke a long playoff drought, won 2 series, including a massive upset of Providence. I think this is just a start of many things to come for them.
All right, we're going to head back to Rochester for this clip. Zach, take it away.
Yeah, and it's just a simple matter of finding that open space and taking that shot. And what a shot it was, really. It was a quick one that I don't think that Malcolm Subban was expecting. And this is coming from Nikolai, which I've kind of liked so far in this playoffs. He only had like 6 or so regular season games heading into this. And that's coming from Finland. So I think that he's kind of been a good prospect who's been sort of showing that this is his little beta run here for the next season. And that's a prospect that the Maple Leafs organization will hold on to. I mean, it's 6-4 now, and they're continuing to kind of with their assault right now. And they've so far put 35 shots on goal, 14 of those in the third period. They had 14 in the second period as well. So they're outscoring Rochester on the shot clock 35-30.
Finland making all sorts of noise. If you know, you know. Cha-cha-cha. Let's see. Can they do it? They got 5:05 left. 2 goals down. Up 35-30 in shots.
It's tough too.
Maybe.
And you know what? Maybe if I'm Greg Moore, I'm gonna start thinking about pulling my goalie here. I mean, when you kind of think about it here, there's 5 minutes left in your season. You've had puck possession for most of the third period. You've only allowed 5 shots so far. And I think that's a pretty impressive stat so far, especially considering the way that the Marlies have been playing defensively throughout the series. So this is really a prime opportunity for them to kind of maybe pull the goalie here while you got the offensive zone face-off, which I believe they have. We're in commercial. And really just continue that assault on Malcolm Subban. And who knows what's going to happen. I believe that it's a Rochester power play. So maybe not a good time to pull the goalie. Scratch everything I said. In 2 minutes' time, let's think about pulling our goalie here. And with 3 minutes left in the third period, we'll do that.
So was there a penalty shot and I missed it? The league is saying a Mark Johnstone penalty shot dripping from behind at 14:55.
I didn't see it, dog.
Okay, so it's not just me. That's what they're saying. So it could just be a case of go home website, you've consumed too much. But yeah, I'm going to go back. I somehow totally missed this.
I feel like I would have seen if there was a penalty shot. Like, you know,
right?
I kind of got the split screen going between our screen and this screen, but I feel like I would have seen if there was a penalty shot. Like, I feel like it's hard to miss.
Right. But that would have been a couple of minutes ago, 14:55. What? I don't get what the AHL website is doing.
Ooh.
But uh-oh. And that probably just did it right there. Ethan Prow on the power play. 16:01, making this 7-4. Oh, and guess what, Zach? The AHL website is now saying it was actually Joel Hoffenmeyer at 14:55 with a penalty shot. They don't even know who took the shot, apparently.
Can I take a shot?
Yes.
I think you're allowed.
You're allowed at this point. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, we got 45 seconds left in the second in Texas. We'll see the last minute anything pops off, or we're going to head into the intermission with another Admirals lead.
I'll put it this way. I can no longer add who scored goals because there have been too many people with long names scoring goals and I'm out of characters.
Thanks, Rochester.
Thanks, that 6-4 game. 7-4 game.
Looks like we got a hold going up against the Admiral, so 23 seconds left. Their Stars are going on the power play.
And if you have any... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying this would be a good time for Riley Barber to show up in the series.
Absolutely. So we have just a few more minutes. We're going to hang out until the end of this Rochester-Toronto game. Stick around for the woo that I tucked myself into. I dislike myself for that. But if you have any last-minute questions, if you are on Facebook or YouTube watching this live, go ahead and put your question, your comments, your thoughts, your BEARS, Bears chant. Put it all in the chat. We will share it live on air. If you're on Twitter, not too late. Tweet us at the Holy GrAHL, GRAHL, or use the hashtag THG Live, and we will get your thoughts on the air. So there's 3:17 left in that game. 13-17, I just would have rolled over and said, no, I'm done. All right, and it's 23 seconds remaining with the Milwaukee and Texas game in the second, and it looks like we got a power play going on here.
Yep, looks like the period just ended. Milwaukee's heading up 2-1, but the Stars are gonna begin the third. kind of the same way Milwaukee began the second. Fresh sheet of ice, power play, except the Stars are going to be down by 1. They're looking for 1. The fans are cheering for 1. This is so going to be a big moment in series. You're tied up 1-1. Gotta make something happen. Texas is at home. You gotta take 2. You gotta take 2 of the 3 here. You got 3 shots on your home ice. I mean, it's obviously be huge for Milwaukee to steal that first one, but Texas has got to they really just need to start pounding some more pucks on the net. I feel like they've had a couple really good opportunities, but the volume just isn't there. Yeah, I think Will's on something there. What was that laugh? Dean, I think your mic's muted again. Yeah.
Dina can't say that her mic's not working to get out of doing the woo. I'm just saying.
Nope, still muted.
I'm sorry, guys.
That one I literally was muted.
The reaction from it was that was worth all the entire time on the pod.
So yeah, Will Myers III. If you have a blue maple leaf on your jersey, you are straight up not having a great time in the playoffs. Truer words could not be said. But so it looks like basically Rochester is going to go ahead and win this game tonight. There's only 90 seconds left. They're up 7-4. But let's just kind of dial this back just a little bit. Rochester was staring down being eliminated against the Syracuse Crunch on April 28th. They have not lost a game since.
Yeah, Yuri Kulik got inserted in the lineup in Game 3, and this team has just been all cylinders firing ever since then. It's pretty remarkable to watch. I feel like this was a lot of I kind of expected this kind of run last year with this team. They had that shocking first round upset over Utica, and then kind of the wheels kind of fell off. I remember if it was Laval or I think it was Laval that they played. But yeah, now here they are going on their way to the Eastern Conference Finals with just the same as the high powered offense as they had last year. And if they keep scoring goals at this rate, Corey, how are you feeling about having to go up against a team that just put their 8th into the net?
Oh, man. I mean, it's going to be a really great battle because we're looking at one of the league's best defensive teams versus one of the best offensive teams, at least in these playoffs. I was just looking at the stats, and it looks like Rochester trails. And, obviously, I'm not sure how much of this is current, has been updated, all that good stuff. But, Rochester trails only Coachella Valley in terms of goals for right now. And so that's what, kind of intrigues me is that, the Bears conversely have one of, if not the fewest goals against of active teams. Of course, I say that against active teams. The Bears have, certainly they sit 6th if you sort it by all playoff teams. I would like to see a stat sheet where it's by active playoff teams now, because I think the Bears would be first in that category if not for that. So I think it's going to be a really strong test. I mean, the Bears and the Amherst played a couple of really close regular season games earlier on this year, and I can quick reference those because they were just, in the month of March, I believe. So I'm expecting it to be a really tight battle. Those games were great hockey to watch. I think it's going to be great hockey going on here. I still have to say I like Hershey's chances just because I think they have a very complete game going on here that may prove to be a lot for Rochester to handle, but it should be a really great series. I could easily see going the distance.
So Rochester, the game is done. Rochester moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals, where it will be the Rochester Americans from the North Division versus the Atlantics, Hershey, Bears, the Marlies. All of the teams from Toronto are done. Zach I'll just turn it over to you here real quick. But that 8th goal, that empty netter, was courtesy of Matt Barkowski, his first of the playoffs from Lucas Rusek, who honestly had a great night, and Sean Malone. But Zach, I turn it over to you.
You know, this is kind of a great way to eulogize the Marlies season, okay? It starts out, and you're like, let's do a shot, right? Everything seems like a good time, right? And, life is going pretty good if you're a Marlies guy. You got a full shot glass, right? You might have a bit of a buzz going on. It's January, February, that time of the year, right? Then your shot glass, empty. Everything goes down the hole. You have nothing left. You go into the playoffs with nothing left in the tank. And here we are. This is the Marlies season in a nutshell. They had such a great shot glass, and then they went in and they had nothing left in the tank. And good on Rochester, who was staring down the barrel in Syracuse and said, yep, this is our time to shine. Malcolm Subban stole the show, and I would say that Malcolm Subban stole the show again in the third period against the Marlies. He played out of his mind as the Marlies played one of the better third periods that I've seen so far all season. 17 shots on goal. They gave up 11, but 5 of those were in the final 5 minutes. So, you know what? Good on them. And they're going to go against a tough Hershey Bears squad. No one expected this. I don't think any of us predicted that Rochester would continue on to the next round when we talked before going in. So, you know what? Rochester is kind of the dark horse in the North Division, and the Eastern Finals are set, and it's going to be a good one.
And just to give a little bit of levity to this Eastern Conference Finals, the American Hockey League's 2 senior-most franchises will be meeting in the postseason for the first time since 2000. 23 years. The 2 oldest teams in the AHL are about to square off. And okay. So Rochester's mascot is currently out on the ice with a broom sweeping the ice. Just saying. But
I think it's time for you to do. So I did something a little painful. I think it's time for you to do something a little painful.
Corey's got to tee me off there. Hold on. Let me get a drink of water first because I've been talking basically for the last 2 hours and 46 minutes. I got to hydrate real quick and then I'll do the thing.
Take this opportunity to remind you folks that we have lots of content on the Field Pass Hockey app. I'm sure Corey has lots of thoughts that he wants to say on this. Go check that out and check out this absolutely perfect food.
All right, Dina, are you ready?
Oh God. No, but yes. Okay.
All right, I'll start you off and then I'll leave you for the woo. How's that sound?
Okay.
All right, so you have to start the chant by going B-E-A-R-S, Bears, 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 B-E-A-R-S, Bears, 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 B-E-A-R-S, Bears, Bears, Bears.
Woo!
There it is.
Not that good, but like I've been talking all day and it's 9:48 at night, but I gave it my best shot. So there you go, Bears fans. There's the woo. I'm never doing that again. Anyway,
he's doing it in the next round.
You got we've got to put something in place to where like if it happens, then it happens. But I'll have to practice. Okay.
By the way, just looking at the stat sheet here, one last nugget to leave you with. In that 2000 series, Rochester 4-0 swept the Bears that series. So is this another demon for the Bears to exercise? It's been a long time, but I say yes.
So any parting thoughts? Will Meyer says, I'm definitely doing it next round. Great. Thanks, guys.
Me and Will are like brothers, honestly, like brothers from other mothers, basically. So, if he's saying to do it, that means it's happening. It's because I said you have to do it. So, I think it's a thing. This is going to become a thing.
Why is my thing on the podcast a woo? No. But Zach, Andrew, Corey, any final parting thoughts before we close out? This
Playoffs are the best time of the year.
Yep.
Expect the unexpected.
I love
And
it. I'm
now
content.
about
Let's do
to-
this again.
Yeah, now I'm about to stay up for another 5-hour marathon on the West Coast. I can't wait.
I apologize in advance if that one goes into triple OT again. I will not be staying up for that. Or will I? I just won't be on here. So, but that's going to be it for the Holy Grail this week. If you'd like to see or maybe hear more of us, please subscribe to us on YouTube. We have our very own channel at the Holy Grail, just like the podcast name. And of course, we will be there wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And Will, I can't. Just, I'll let y'all read that. And thank you for the compliment. I appreciate you.
He's not wrong.
But yeah, subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to your favorite podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter at The Holy Grail for the last time tonight. That is GRAHL. You can also check out all of Field Pass Hockey's other podcasts. Join Matthew Harding and Jason Mowles as they break down the ECHL's Wichita Thunder and chat with some of the team's legendary players. The Rolling Thunder podcast airs bi-weekly on the Field Pass Hockey Network. And we talked about Syracuse not too long ago, but if that is your team, then we have Alexander Ackerman and the Syracuse Speaks podcast. And on behalf of all of us here at the Holy Grail, we hope you have an amazing week. Congratulations again to the Rochester Americans and the Hershey Bears. And we'll catch you sometime very soon. Thanks again. Bye.